Good evening and welcome to the 13th meeting of fiscal year 2026 for the Milton Planning Board. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order and begin by introducing the members of the Planning Board and our staff. If you'd like to begin.
Sure. Cheryl Tagayas, Secretary.
Matt Yofield, member.
Jim?
Jim Davis, member.
Yes. And Meredith Hall serving as chair. Sean Fahey will not be joining us this evening, but we do have our staff here. Bonte?
Avante Grady, Assistant Director.
And Liz Manning, Planning Director.
Great, thank you, and thank you all for joining us. We can begin with our administrative items. We don't have any minutes currently.
We have one set.
Oh, we have one set, I'm sorry, we do. And that was, I don't have that date.
And it was December.
11.
Yep.
And I'll just say that I spent time trying to whittle them down because I felt as if we don't need to capture quite everything that's said. Just kind of, it's good to capture some of the gist of the dialogue, I think, but not everything that's said. Because I feel as if it's going to be difficult for people to want to read really lengthy minutes. So I kind of taken the approach, I've been the secretary for a few years now.
Yeah, just to
And-
summarize. Yeah,
And I
summary
think,
of-
the approach that for the years that I've been on the board was to try to be, strike that balance between capturing everything and not being too long. So,
And Avante, you've been doing a great job, and I think you've been, going with probably more detail, which covers everything, so that's great. that we have both.
Yeah, I'm not, and I was hoping to get it out sooner, so maybe we wouldn't have to have as many longer, but I'm happy to go through the ones for January. I will say it did take me longer to go through them when they're longer like that too, so.
Yeah, I definitely hear you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to make it so that it's, extremely time consuming to go through them and, review them, because of the length. So, I think I did err on the side of being more detailed,
Which I appreciate, yeah.
kind of at the beginning, but I'm definitely going to work on making those more succinct, moving forward, so.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for your work on them.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Of course.
Great, so I did review them, and I was.
Yeah, I only found one typo on page 7.
it. 7
It said peer review, spelled peers and
is in pair.
oh peer.
Oh, book peer. Oh,
Oh
okay.
peer.
So with that amendment, if I could have a motion to approve the minutes from December 11th
As
as amended.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
We'll have to do a roll call because we're not all in person. Cheryl?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. December 11th minutes are approved. Then our next meeting dates, we have, our next meeting scheduled is February 26th. And then we are in March, which actually falls on the 12th again. So, followed by the 26th again. Those are the next 3 dates. Up and great. Okay. Staff update.
Great, so I've just got a couple of quick things tonight. I'm gonna bring up to date on the Boston to Blue Hills project. I know Cheryl I appreciate very much, Cheryl, you following up on this because this is kind of moving faster I think than I realized. So it's good. So we've got everyone's attention and what have you. I'm gonna share my screen to show the alternate that's basically the preferred option at this point.
Yeah.
So this is this alternative for center running shared use path will have 11 conflict points with intersecting roads. So it is the single lane on the northbound. I believe, right?
I think
Single lane?
it's single lane now on both sides.
A single lane on both, okay,
So, which I drove the parkway yesterday.
yeah.
What it looks like they're doing is they're taking the second lane and they're putting another row of planting and putting the bike path on there, which is actually a gain of green space, which I was, all of us were
And
very
another row of
concerned.
trees,
And another row of trees.
right.
Why was I thinking that this was they were maintaining 2 lanes on one side? Okay, so.
One of the options did have that,
One of
not
the-
this one.
One of the options.
Yeah, yes, thank you, yes. So I had a quick meeting this morning, a quick huddle this morning with the new town engineer. He provided some comments on, what the town might be looking for moving forward. Had a conversation as well with the project manager at MAPC, to get a better handle on where they were in the process. And then I shared some of that information out with Cheryl and Meredith, and I'd be more than happy to share it out with the rest of the board in terms of what has been reported up to the DCR. So the folks at MAPC basically had offered a couple of things. They said the project manager's email can be used directly for public comments. So that was one item that was asked to be followed up on. They offered to come and do a meeting with us if folks are interested, if they'd like if the board would like a presentation on this before, things are fully finalized, this feasibility study is fully finalized. I know our town engineer and our DPW director are interested in things like next steps, like, what happens after this feasibility study is finalized, sort of like who's involved, what needs to get checked off, what are the funding sources. So those are some of the things that they wrote in their comment here today. Also understanding some traffic count information that might be a little bit fresher based on the Randolph Ave road diet. So these are some of the different things that are kind of in the mix as part of the discussion. So I'm available to have them come back in to talk to you folks directly if you'd like. I'm available to help draft a comment letter if that would be useful. Just let me know how you wanna proceed.
I was wondering, do the neighbors know about this along the parkway? Cause they do have, I think, like a neighborhood association. Have they paid in, or if maybe it's not a true association, they definitely have, like they communicate via email, so they're fairly active.
Right.
So have they had an opportunity to weigh in?
So I know that they reported that they had about 75 people in attendance at that meeting on January 15th. My guess would be that there was attempts to do outreach for sure to the neighbors and the people that are directly impacted. One of the possibilities, if folks wanted to, maybe if we did some kind of a Facebook post or something that said there's still opportunity to get comments in, here's the contact information for the project manager. There could be an opportunity to try to get that to the right person in that association and make sure that they just blast it out to their network.
Yeah.
But based on the participation at that meeting, it seemed pretty full. Yeah. Okay.
And we could, I think it would be nice to maybe have them come in. And I don't know if the 26th, how soon do they think they're gonna have?
They're finalizing pretty soon, so I think we would need to have them at the next
The
meeting.
next meeting, we could have them come, just to
Yeah.
let people know if they have any comments that they could.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be nice to submit a letter. And part of it would be that the planning department, the town engineering department and planning board would like, and perhaps others, would like, we do have, I don't know how active it is, but we do have a bicycle advisory committee. And they were very interested in the bicycle pedestrian master plan that was completed a couple of years ago. So I think showing support from the town for this effort would help, because this is kind of my understanding from looking at it is an effort led by MAPC and NEPRA, the Neponset River Watershed Association, and then encouraging DCR to move in this on this, I think.
Mhm.
Showing that we would be supportive, I think would be helpful.
Now, I haven't compared the bike master plan to this plan. Do they match up? Because I think the bike plan, you know, outlined their thoughts for, I think, Blue Hill Parkway.
That was MAPC also, so I
Yes,
would think
yeah.
it matches
It's-
up, but
I don't
They did
know. I don't know. Were there sort of like, were there renderings for like different areas and sort of what they wanted for like
Yeah,
a
and
like
at
a
least a
typical layout?
breakdown.
it
Yeah.
wasn't this detail of what the roadway might look like, but it was pathways.
Okay.
Like roadways that would make connections, and part of that was this understanding that they were working on more initiatives in adjacent communities, so that these connections were part of
Okay.
what they were interested in, so I'd be surprised if it's not in there, but it's definitely worth
So consistency with that plan.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's something that needs to be revisited. I don't, how old is the plan? Is it?
It's not that old, but I definitely think it should be revisited because you know, part of the plan affects my neighborhood, and my neighborhood association wrote in a letter and attached it to the plan. Plan wasn't changed to
So one of the things that the plan does is it was a grant, and the Jim Zerwinski was the original coordinator, through the planning department, but it was a matching grant too, so the master plan implementation committee was the match. And so their touch points were to our committee.
Okay.
But the bicycle advisory committee was also a participant, in it, and there was, a survey and public meetings and, but one of the things that was identified is that, some things are kind of low hanging fruit and some things would require more study.
Right.
And so I think, like the area that Maggie's talking about would have pretty significant changes to things which would require more study. But other areas, were deemed to be something that could be done relatively easier. Now, I will also say that Nick Milano applied on behalf of the town to the CPC for some funding, which would, I think, was targeted for this connection from, I guess it would be like on Central, no, not Central, no, what's the street that, if you could kind of connect East Milton on the other side of Milton Academy from Canton Ave, Center Street, yeah, maybe it was Center Street. And he cited the bike ped master plan
Okay.
in that application.
Okay.
So the implementation of that
It's a
plan.
very narrow road, if that.
The implementation of that plan, I don't know who it lies with.
Yeah.
If it lies with select board, DPW planning, and I don't know if there's been much action on it.
Yeah.
Which is similar to, unfortunately, to other planning efforts. The ownership, so this is one of the things that we put in the master plan implementation committee report, was ownership of a lot of these things once the committees completed their work.
Yeah.
Is not always clear, and therefore follow-up after, after a lot of good work has gone in, some follow-up isn't as strong as people would hope.
I mean, in this plan in particular, I would think there'd be less pushback because it is decreasing pervious surfaces and increasing green spaces and trees, and that will help slow down traffic, which is a problem there. I lived on the Parkway for a number of years, and so
I can hear like a speedway
Yeah.
from my house on that at night when people race something or whatever they do.
No, this would be an improvement.
yeah, it
certainly.
definitely would be an improvement.
So,
Quick question,
Yes, Jim.
just wondering, with regards to CPC money, who's paying for this? Wouldn't the state be paying for this? And why would we be giving our CPC money to,
sorry,
This
the CPC was not this. The CPC was as a component of the bicycle pedestrian master plan, but not this. Sorry.
excellent, okay, I thought you said some kind of a connector or something, I must have misheard you, sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
And January 15th meeting. Liz, is there a link to that? Was that recorded, that MAPC presentation or
So
meeting on the January?
So I have notes. I don't believe it was recorded, but I do have notes from that meeting, so I can share those out with you folks. Okay?
That's all right. It would have been nice to watch if it was recorded. That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I asked her for a recording and she sent me the notes from the meeting, so I can follow up again, but I didn't see any cameras. It was in the library at the high school.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
just have a few friends on the, who live on that street. It would be nice to just tell them, hey, this is what's going on, and in case they don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, Liz?
So did we agree that we're going to invite
Yeah, I
them for
think we
the,
should.
and should we ask Liz to draft a letter on our behalf? I don't think it has to be highly,
Yeah.
a comment letter. I don't think it has to be highly detailed, but just, expressing support or interest and involvement as it moves forward, things like that.
So
And the one
prior to
thing-
them coming,
yeah,
prior to them coming.
Just
do you
having a
wanna-
draft ready because
Yeah.
the comment period ends so soon after the
Yes,
next
yes, yes.
meeting.
I think that's great.
And one thing I'd like to know is how many parking spaces are they reducing the number of parking spaces along the parkway? Because the parkway is a DCR road, you can park overnight on it. And so I know I lived on the parkway and I lived on West Street, a little further down. And living down there, we relied on parking on the parkway. And you don't need to get a hardship permit. So I would hate to see any parking spaces get reduced. Because there are two families, I lived in a two-family down there. And so you kind of need that extra parking out on the street.
It's showing the parking.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, just to get a parking count, because I know when they redid East Milton Square, I think they lost like 11 parking spots, which they didn't really anticipate until after it was completed. So I would hate to see any parking spaces lost.
So one thing that I think I saw in the notes, which I think is a comment I would like to include, you're talking about the person who fell. There's very few places to cross the parkway, and high schoolers do cross there to get to Gile Road. And I walk that and I ride my bike, and there's very few places you can cross, and it's a very long way, far between. So those are, I think, why they lost spaces in East Milton, is to have safer pedestrian way. So there may be where they add crosswalks that may impact, but if they're adding them at the streets, they probably won't.
Right.
But there's a long stretch where there's not a street. That's from Canton Ave down to Gile.
Yeah.
And that's where people cross. I think also, I take the path that's along Pine Tree Brook and cross over to get to Pope's Pond, and there's no crosswalk there either. And so there's paths on both sides of the roadway and no way to connect the two paths, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Especially there is CPC funding to make improvements to those pathways around Pope's Pond. And eventually probably on the Pine Tree Brook, because studies for that have been funded as well.
Which would be great, and it'll increase the use, so having safe travel to get there is.
Okay, so that's another thing to loop in here too, is the CPC funded design work for paths, sort of in that vicinity.
There's
It may have already been captured by the design team, but
Right.
I just wanna make sure that they've got that.
I'm pretty sure I read in there about crosswalks.
Okay.
So I'm sure that would come, because this is just a little slice here.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, it does seem like the consensus, the public consensus and what I'm hearing, kind of very initially out of the engineering and DPW is that they're also supportive of this alternative forward, so that's good.
Yes.
If we're generating consensus, that's a good thing.
Very good.
Thank you for following up on that, Liz.
Yeah, that's great. And is that it? Anything else, Liz?
So Levante had a update on I think Maggie's question from the last meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to look into, I know there was some questions regarding the Shade Tree Advisory Committee and kind of information related to, how are trees funded, who chooses where to put them and stuff like that. So I reached out to Cassandra, who was the environmental coordinator, and she replied back with a few comments, which I wanted to share. So she says the DPW collaborates with Shade Tree Advisory Committee on the DPW Shade Tree Program, where residents can request a shade tree that will be planted in the right-of-way in front of their homes for free. The property owner is responsible for maintaining the tree that is requested. They submit a request via an online form. The DPW forestry staff review the request, and if the location is suitable, they will plant a tree. The Shade Tree Advisory Committee, they provide DPW with a recommended tree species list. I believe they update every year. And that helps kind of choose what trees the DPW purchases. And the Shade Tree Advisory Committee also works with Eversource on tree removals and replacements. In terms of budget, the DPW, I guess they've historically have had a line item where in their annual DPW budget, $10,000 for planting shade trees. Apparently DPW is trying to get approval to add a line item in their FY27 capital budget for $20,000 for trees, in addition to the annual DPW budget of $10,000. Cassandra, she meets with the Shade Tree Advisory Committee once a month. And I know kind of looking at like past minutes from the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, I know they've expressed interest in having a higher budget for trees. They've expressed 40,000 in the past, so I think there's been some like negotiations between the two in terms of funding trees, but that was sort of the information I found and received from Cassandra, which I wanted to share.
So at the 350th, there was about $40,000 raised for shade trees. And you don't have to answer it right now, but I think the question is where is that money being held? And is it, it doesn't sound like the Shade Tree Committee has it, and it doesn't sound like the DPW has it. So there was a considerable amount, and it was from residents in the town to celebrate the 350th. That would be one further question. And then the other would be when the Conservation Commission gets, a project like the memory care, we know that there are about, I think the amount that's being paid is about $300,000 for mitigation. Obviously, we would like those to be on the Highland Street, around some of those neighbors, but that's a lot of money, and that should go to shade trees for the town as well, if they can't be planted on the site.
Yeah, I think when there was a violation of a scenic road application where there were trees taken down from the public way where Maggie is, I think they couldn't did they put them back there? Or do we ask for some of that to go to the shade?
So they replanted
All of those?
They replanted the strip, yeah. I don't think that they made a financial contribution. I think it was all planted.
So I think what we found on Highland with the memory care was that there's not enough space for the numbers of trees, so that they needed to go elsewhere.
They need to make a contribution.
In which I understand that, but there are maybe some people on the latter streets, like Spafford or Buckingham, where they have larger front yards. And so perhaps the trees can't be planted along Highland, but the first priority should be planted on the latter streets to help mitigate any cut through traffic.
So there were also some direct abutters who, to me anyway, are more impacted in some ways, right? Some of those, if they had an interest in them, but do they have to be in the public way? not when they were being replaced for the memory care, right?
Yeah.
It's a good question
Yeah.
for how we wrote
I
that
would-
permit. How the Concom wrote the
Yes,
decision.
Yeah, and Concom doesn't have a budget, so that's where I'm kind of looking for that piece of information is where does the money go to?
The 40,000, yeah, that's supposed to be set aside for
Yeah,
shade
and
trees,
who's
yeah.
in charge of the money? Cause also we have a great program in town too, that a homeowner can purchase a tree and they can buy a tree in case they want a different tree or a larger tree. They can purchase it at any local nursery. And then the DPW will come and pick it up and plant it for free. So
Okay.
so that's another great program that's offered.
That's great.
I think coming back to that Concom question, I think, Avanti, when a tree is removed and the Conservation Commission approves it, there's a replacement, that's what, 3 trees to
Yeah.
1?
3 to 1.
Yeah.
And is there, if they don't have an account, and if the trees aren't all able to be placed on site, what happens?
Yeah, and I think it is a dollar value. I think pretty much it's a dollar value. And that's the other thing, I know Concom was reviewing what that dollar value should be. And I know recently one Concom member was advocating for a higher dollar value. Just cause she had gotten information from other landscapers on what the value is of planting one tree. So she was advocating that it would be a higher replacement value, but I don't think the majority of the Concom did support her her endeavor, which I think was a little bit of a shame.
Jim, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Meredith, thank you. I was just gonna say that on capital, we approved an extra 15,000 for trees, so that 10 is gonna become 25. But once again, I'm not sure exactly where that money goes. I think it goes to the DPW for the tree initiative, but not 100% sure. I am sure about the 15,000. That's all.
great. That's good. And it may be, I wonder, because I've always thought maybe staffing related, like what is the capacity of how many trees that they have time to plant? I don't know if the DPW would ever consider outsourcing that to the nurseries who have all the equipment, have the capabilities. It almost, might be something that they could outsource. I know like snow plowing, gets outsourced. Sometimes it's more efficient to maybe have somebody in the nursery business to do the planting, but
Great idea.
just a
And
thought.
then it is guaranteed.
Oh, that would
Usually,
be
yeah,
guaranteed,
yeah.
I mean, and it could be a number of nurseries that could be on the list and depending on who has what trees and, so. Okay. Good. All right, Avanti, thank you for that.
Of course.
Okay. Is anything else from staff? Thank you for those reports. And we can now move to our public comment. If there's anyone here for citizen speak who would like to speak. Let's see, any hands up?
No hands up.
No
Oh,
hands.
actually, I need to promote John Zygart's.
Okay, great. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the MBTA Community Zoning, the Economic Feasibility Analysis by MAPC. And are they with us this evening?
I think they're both tuning in as we speak.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hi there. Thanks for joining us. You would like to introduce yourself and then possibly you can present your findings?
Sure.
Economic
My name's Adam Platz. I'm the housing manager at MAPC, and I will hand it over to Avanti to do introductions, and then she can take it away.
Hi, hello. My name is Avanti. I'm a senior regional land use planner here at MAPC. My understanding was actually that we were here kind of more just to answer any lingering questions there might be on the analysis, but if it'd be helpful, I'm happy to kind of maybe walk through some of the scenarios. I don't have any presentation prepared, but if there were any questions you guys had as you were reviewing the materials, Adam and I are happy to answer them.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I just thought for the public, we could explain what the purpose is of doing this exercise and what was required by EOHLC on
Sure.
affordability. Just sort of an overview.
I think your your introduction on this memo, Avanti, is pretty succinct, so.
Yeah. I can just talk. So yeah, for the purpose of the public, we're working on the economic feasibility analysis for Milton. And the goal with this economic feasibility analysis is to assess different development scenarios in Milton's MBTA districts and make sure that whatever inclusionary or affordability requirements are in the zoning for those 3A districts are feasible and won't necessarily hinder development coming into, specifically in this case, the 3A multifamily overlay district. So we ran 5 different scenarios of different scales, and we spent a lot of time thinking about the assumptions around those scenarios, thinking about, what could realistically come into the district. And our analysis showed that all 5 scenarios were feasible under the affordability requirements that are there for Milton zoning. That is 15% of units at 80% AMI. There were also some other affordability inclusionary requirements that we were considering, and that's what we contemplated in December, the last time Adam and I were here. And after that meeting, my understanding is that we proceeded, at least for the purposes of this EFA specifically, to use that 80% or that 15% at 80% AMI. That's already written into the current zoning bylaw. And so that's what we went with. We have the memo, which is in your hands. We also produced a little memo summarizing that presentation from December. That should also be with you guys. And we have the actual Excel sheet with the analysis. And yeah, that's a quick overview. Again, happy to answer any questions or concerns you might have having read over that.
Thank you. And if you could just sort of explain what our next steps would be. Obviously, our zoning does have the 15% affordable with the 80% AMI. Should we decide to, I think, move forward with that at this time? Not that we wouldn't consider the other options in the future. How does that happen? Do you draft a letter? Are you sending this to EOHLC? And is that something that they need to accept then and let us know that they've accepted that? What is that process from your experience with other communities?
I see you kind of.
Yeah, sure. We submit that to EOHLC for approval, for review, and then they review it and will very, very most likely approve it, and you will get acknowledgement of that. I'm not sure how quick the turnaround is on that. I know we just did one of these. One of these is a little further ahead than you. The turnaround for that one was not slow. So it is pretty. They do their due diligence, but the reality is this is a fairly standard. What we are proposing and you're kind of looking at is well within the normal bounds of what EOHLC has looked at in respect to 3A EFAs. So they know what they're looking at, and they 100% know our work. I think this is like the 20th of these we've done in MAPC's region. So we've done a lot of these, and they know what our model is, they respect it, and they know exactly what to look for when we submit.
Thank you.
So, and I would probably just add, just based on a really quick conversation with the town administrator today, that once the planning board makes their recommendation, then it would be either the town administrator or potentially a vote of the Board of Selectmen, I'm not 100% on that, to have MAPC submit the documentation to EOHLC. So that'll be the path. The path is the town will need to officially, say this is, let's go ahead and submit it.
So I wanna thank you for the follow-up memo. I think that was something that I thought would be nice to have in memo format rather than just in the presentation. And one of the things, I just recently finished a detailed review of our December meeting minutes. And we had, I guess, instead of we, had asked whether there's been any tracking at MAPC of what the percentages of projects that are getting built as compared to permitted. And you weren't sure if that was something MAPC was tracking, but you thought you could ask within your organization. I was just curious if you had an opportunity to check into that.
The question was related to IZ zones and what is being permitted, or was it actually being built? Was that the question? Permitted versus built?
Yeah, because I had expressed that I'd seen in Boston at the BPDA board meetings in November and December, and in fact, it happened again in January, where applicants came in and asked for relief on their inclusionary zoning requirements that were for approved projects because the projects weren't moving forward, and they were looking for some change in their affordability requirements. And so I was just concerned that, we're as current as we can be on the economic conditions and this idea of what tips something to be unaffordable.
Yeah. We do not track, we're definitely not tracking at that fine grain. We have begun conversations about tracking IZ policies in the region just to get a sense of the different scope in respect to 15% and 80, like the actual bylaw language. Because no one's looking at that. The last time anyone's kind of looked at that is at least 5 years ago. And that was done at a national level. That's something we want to look at, but that's not what you're asking. I can say from our conversations regarding kind of trying to track just IZ policies alone, that's labor intensive, and certainly kind of the challenge of tracking kind of individual projects through individual planning board hearings would be, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be difficult. I've had conversations with people in Boston about this issue. So I definitely hearing that. I mean, obviously there's been, there's a lot of conversations out there about IZ policy, been in the news over the past 45, 60 days. I think, we stand by our feasibility analysis as in relation to whether or not these projects would pencil out. And with the caveat that, I think I probably said this the last time we were here, this is an iterative process. These things are not set in stone. And you need to be willing to crack these things open and tweak them if need be. And that would kind of be what I would say about this and any IZ policy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from members?
I just have a quick one regarding appreciation. I don't know if you guys can answer it. I was just wondering with the with the subsidized units, have you observed, do they appreciate at the same rate as the non-subsidized units? Market appreciation.
So in respect to their overall value, right? That's what you're like,
Yeah.
what you're not
Yeah.
asking like whether or not you can charge increased rents year over year, which you can. I mean, those are dictated by HUD rent standards. It's we're doing another project similar. It's a little more in depth and technical than this work, but we've kind of looked at appreciation from the perspective of property taxes and how, like, the assessment rate on a subsidized unit versus a market rate unit. The assessment rate is going to be lower always. I don't think that entirely answers your question, but I think assessor's data is a tell on appreciation overall. So I think they do appreciate, but they're not going to appreciate certainly as quick or as fast as a market rate unit. I feel like, developers understand that. And they're also getting, they're getting the benefit of that on the property tax side.
All right. Yeah, I was thinking of it more if I was buying one of these subsidized units.
If
Then
you're
saving, I don't know, 20% or whatever the savings is, and then the unit appreciates less.
Yeah,
Are
that
you really making out over 5 or 10 years because you're not gaining? I mean, Boston appreciation is insane, so it would be a shame to leave that on the table. Now, if it gets you a unit and you actually can't afford a house, then you forego a little appreciation. I get it, but I was just wondering from.
I can speak to that a little bit. I think the vast majority of projects that are triggered by an IZ policy are going to be rental. That's generally the case throughout the United States. There are examples of IZ homeownership units. Some communities kind of approach those differently, set different standards for IZ units that would be homeownership. Generally speaking, a deed restricted homeownership unit is part of you're going into that understanding that the amount of you are not going to get the same amount as you would if you were in a market rate unit. It's kind of the trade-off, right? Like you're getting assistance, you're qualifying as your income qualifying for that. The understanding is when you sell that is going to remain a deed restricted unit that's going to be sold to another income eligible person. The amount of appreciation you get is not going to be equal to a market rate property or unit, whatever typology we're talking about. But that is anyone buying this is going to understand that up front. It is a trade-off. And it's a trade-off that, honestly, people in the affordable housing community kind of struggle with. It's not an easy answer,
Okay, I just well, I wasn't the only guy thinking about that.
No, you're not.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm good.
All right, thank you. So Liz, would you suggest that we have a vote to send it to in supporting what is in the zoning at the 15%, 80% AMI at this point to feed that to EOHLC?
I think if the
Or
board's
to
comfortable
forward it
with
to the
that.
select board and request that they send it to EOHLC.
I just have one question. Was the Affordable Housing Trust, I know that you sent it to them. Did they have any comments back?
So I did not receive any comments from that group. I reached out a couple of different times to the chair.
Okay.
I did get an email today from Nick saying that he has not had a chance to have it on the select board for agenda for discussion, but his view is that we should submit to EFA to increase affordability requirements in line with what the town meeting voted, and that if other policy options are preferred, we can work to come up with new language to amend zoning and submit for a subsequent town meeting discussion.
So I think that would this fall into a discussion in an updated housing production plan? you think? I'm just gonna think,
Yeah.
who takes it next to think about whether
What
there should
the
be
other-
something,
the other options?
options should be studied? Is it the Affordable Housing Trust? Is it the Housing Production Plan? Is it us? Is it the Select Board? It's just like one of those things where this just goes and it's gone and
Yeah,
then who picks it up?
I don't know. Maybe someone from MAPC can jump in on this one. Does the housing production plan, would it necessarily include like an IZ strategy?
Yeah, we did before.
I can chime in on this.
Could it? Should it?
I think it depends. I mean, I think, let me give you I'll give you an example. We just completed a housing production plan on the North Shore. One of the recommendations out of that housing production plan was to create an IZ policy.
Okay.
They didn't have one. The housing production plan identified it as an issue, as something that should probably be included in the overall kind of housing policy kind of portfolio that this community has. I think that's one way to look at it. I think on a more basic level, you can absolutely scope out an IZ review in a housing production plan. And you don't necessarily have to develop a new bylaw, but it's something that could be done. Part of that work could be some of the stuff that, like some of the upfront research. If you had an existing IZ policy, looking at different scenarios and options that might be worthwhile pursuing. I mean, that's certainly within the scope. That could certainly be put in a scope of a housing production plan,
Okay.
in my eyes.
Good. Okay.
And I also think, we're going to enter into another kind of housing action plan because it's not a production plan, but the Affordable Housing Trust is the client in that project. So, I mean, it's in the relationship between IZ and AHTs, I think, are important. And I think you should not be looking at that in a vacuum in respect to like ignoring, like the Affordable Housing Trust, I think can provide really good insight on how these things can work. And yeah, certainly all those things could be on the table.
Awesome.
Right, so I guess I'd like to make a motion to submit or to recommend submitting the report, the final report. Make that recommendation to the select board. And then also include a recommendation that the memo for other inclusionary zoning options be part of the consideration in the development of the housing production plan. So it's a twofold motion, if that's okay, or a
Would that
two-part
be two
motion.
separate motions? Or one big one?
Well, I guess it depends if people want to vote separately, but I initially thought I would make it as one motion, but if you prefer it split, I can do that too.
One's okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine with one.
I'm fine with one.
And
So
I
I
said a quick
second.
question when you're done.
So we have a second. All right, let's do roll call. Jim,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes,
and myself, yes.
Would the board be comfortable with me soliciting maybe like additional pricing for that from the consultant that because I think that
Need
I
to-
don't,
yeah, if we're
that might be
changing the
a
scope,
bit of a I can imagine that might be in addition to what's already been scoped. So shall I go ahead and solicit a price and then we can come back and see if
Yeah,
it's
and see
something
if that
people are
changes,
comfortable with?
or if that's something,
Okay,
because it has been included in our past one,
okay,
it might not be that difficult to sort of
okay.
Yeah, I
revamp
would
that, and it
think-
will then further study what would need to be done, which would be a whole separate.
yeah, 'cause I would think at the very minimum, they're going to identify where we do have inclusionary zoning. We've included it since that report was done. Milton Village, East Milton Square, the MBTA communities, even some in the memory care, although it's not quite inclusionary zoning, right? But so there would be definitely a lot of
Yeah.
update to even the number of units in the pipeline on the SHI with the 40B, so.
Yeah, so that would be great if you could just see if what it
Yeah.
would, what additional, if it would be an additional cost, and if so.
Yeah, absolutely, and, yeah,
And
okay.
just, can I ask a question about the housing production plan? Did the select board vote their share of the funds for that?
I believe it was on their agenda Tuesday night, so I haven't heard otherwise.
And who's leading the effort in the, is it good, did you say the last time we talked about this, that it would be a small committee?
Yeah, I think it was settling around like two and two.
2 and 2, okay.
So that falls in line too with what Adam was just saying of having the, having the Affordable Housing Trust, right at the table and part of the conversation, so 2, I don't know if it's 2 planning board members or if it's 2 planning board designees, I'm not really sure. I don't know that that's necessarily been finalized yet.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for your work on this.
We appreciate you joining us and your work at MAPC.
Thank you very
Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
No problem.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you for hanging in there with us, you guys are great.
Problem. Yeah.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we can move to our final agenda item, which is the just finalizing the last tweaks of the sign bylaw zoning amendment. And just because most likely people haven't really had a chance to read it since just it was sent out this afternoon. I just wanted to point out what changes to
Can I just say one
John.
thing before I
Oh, sure.
forget? I saw some places where it said sign review board and then it said sign review
Liz caught
committee.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on
Just
top
wanted
of
to
that.
be- okay,
I know,
thanks.
because we were
Just wanted to
talking
lose sight of
about
that.
some things. So there were a couple of things that that had just popped out to me when I was reading, which related to some things that the sign review committee currently does, and I think that they would like to keep doing. I had no issues, and we can go through, or I had no questions on anything up through page 8. I thought everything looked good. But on the top of page 9, Roman numeral 3.
You have to go like this, guys, sorry. It's the way.
I thought I printed it this way, I'm like, what did I do here?
It's the way, it's the way I
Yeah.
printed out.
What I just wanted to make sure, because John had said that he still wanted the applicant to come before them, even though they would have to go to the ZBA. He had asked that they typically would have the presentation. So in order for them to be able to make a recommendation, they would need to see what they were making a recommendation on.
Sorry, what page you on?
So it was top of page 9.
Okay.
And let's see, so Roman numeral 3, the last version did not have anything stating that the applicant should still come to the sign review committee. So I just wanted to make sure that although the sign review committee doesn't have to do a public hearing,
Yeah,
That
I
they
noticed
should-
that too.
that
Okay.
they should still come to the sign review committee so that there'll be time to review all the materials, make sure everything, if the sign review committee is making a recommendation that a special permit is granted, they need to know what they're, and be able to meet with the applicant. So I just wanted to make sure that was documented, that they still would need to come through. So that was one of the changes that was made, and I'm now looking at the language.
Meredith, weren't there some questions for us though before that?
Do you, would that be useful to kind of just sort of, do you wanna just kind
Yeah.
of quickly go through like all of
Sure.
Carolyn's like
Okay.
comment boxes maybe?
Yes, so if
And then
anyone.
make sure people are comfortable that those questions have been answered. I've been over this so many times that I'm comfortable now,
That's
but
what-
it's
we
probably-
should make sure that if there is something that someone isn't comfortable.
So on page 1, there's a note on, so essentially the yellow highlight are places where she incorporated the last round of
Right.
comments.
Yep.
And then what I did today was I tried in this email to summarize the 4 specific sections that had been updated as late as today by Carolyn. One of those we just talked about, which was that 5G3. So when you're looking at these edits, the yellow is what she collected at our last meeting. And then there are those 4 minor things or smaller things that Meredith and I had talked to Carolyn directly about today. So we can make sure we get all of those bullets and then make sure we
Right.
cover those 4 items clearly, because I
Yes.
know Carolyn's gonna be wanting from us a response, that it's finalized or what have you. So do you wanna do that? Do you wanna look at the different comment boxes, like page by page, or?
Sure, cause I thought some of those were old, but that's why but yeah, let's go through page by page and
So the first page, the comment about the free speech, I think that was fine. Yep, I don't have any questions about
Good.
that.
Yep, same.
Yeah, just a minute, guys, we're on the one that was sent 9 hours ago, right? The email, the last email from
Yes.
Liz, the
Yes.
attachment that was sent, because there were 2 on that. All right, good.
Yes.
Just to make sure I'm on the right one.
Yep. So
Following Cheryl's advice and opening up the last email. Thank you, Cheryl.
it's good.
smart.
So page 1, where everyone's good with that?
So and I think she added commercial and non-commercial there.
Right.
For free speech purposes.
Right,
Yeah,
which
I
makes
was-
sense.
that's what I
Crystal,
wanted to-
crystal
yeah.
clear, right, okay. And page 3, she wanted to highlight the sign review committee sooner.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
That's good.
There's some highlight on 4 about non-commercial speech and infringement on First Amendment right.
Yep.
And we talked about the center of the business window, the transparent door.
I thought that was good.
Back to on page 5, back to the freedom of speech. A little bit of a question mark on the Adopt an Island.
Yeah.
I think there was the minutes were sort of a little, our recollection of the conversation on that was she had it pretty clearly at 3 square feet, but there was some indication that it might have been 6. So I don't know if there's a desire to revisit that, or if 3 square feet is what people are comfortable with for that Adopt an Island. I do have
Does that seem small?
Seems
Yeah,
small
so
to me.
I think it's small. And I don't think the DPW has a clear,
I think it should be the same as the real estate
I think
office sign.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
there's consistency.
Agreed, Jim? Okay, so let's
Yeah,
just say
exactly.
6 feet for both.
And they can make it smaller if they want, cause some, depending on the
Yeah.
the width of
Max.
the aisle, some on Central Avenue are smaller. So yeah, but this is a max, so yeah, I think the 6 square feet is good.
Okay, great.
And then number 17 was added, right? We didn't have that before.
19.
On page 5, under the exemption still.
Yeah, we talked about that. That was
Right.
that whole conversation about, what this is the one thing you can do.
Right, agreed, yeah, that's fine.
So on page 6, that was that first change from the conversation today. That got moved back to the prohibited uses. Right? So prohibited signs start on page 5, and then we continue on to page 6. So that item number 13 was moved back to prohibited uses. And then you wanted to summarize that conversation, because you probably remember it better than I do.
Yeah, because I think we clearly wanted this section to be prohibited use, except for I think what we did talk about was in the case of the gas station, using the gas stations, that right now we have 4 gas stations in town. One gas station has the LED price signs, and they've already been approved to have a second gas station with LED price signs. So it seems reasonable to say that an LED price sign at that third gas station in East Milton Square, it would be unfair to tell him no when the other two, they may never apply for it, but this gives a pathway to allow for,
But I'm a little unclear, is this, we talked about having an option to have signs by special permit if they had an exposed light source. That, for example, we use the example of the lights on the Baker Chocolate headquarters where they're mounted on the building and you have an exposed light source. I thought we all agreed that those should be allowed by special permit. Is that
so when we
different
go,
than
when we
this?
go later, so what and this is what I clarified with Carolyn, and we'll talk about the rooftop signs too, because
I mean, these are two different things,
they're two different things.
but we
but
said
that type
that
of
both
light.
would be allowed by special permit, I thought, the last meeting. Where I was using Trillium or a brew pub as an example on a brick building in Milton Village, maybe it would be appropriate to have that kind of a sign, and I thought we all agreed to that.
I don't think, because it sort of opens a can of worms when you start putting everything, saying, you know, we don't really want it, but there will be times that we could give you a special permit for it. I think we have to be careful. If somebody wanted to have that, a bright lit light like Walter Baker Chocolate, which I think that's in Boston. I think that there's a difference when you come into Milton, on what type of bright lights that we would like to have. But if somebody feels strongly enough, any of this, they can still go to the ZBA and appeal it.
But we did speak about this at length at the last meeting, so you made changes
maybe I
based on what
misunderstood.
I thought, you've made changes to what I thought we all agreed to last time.
So
Well,
when
I'm kind of with Meredith on this one. If there are two gas stations that already have this approved, it is gonna be tough to tell the third guy he can't do it.
Yeah, no, Jim, what I was referring to here is combining that concept with the concept of an exposed light source. So we spoke at the last meeting about a sign, let's say channel letters, which might have a light source that's visible, like the kind of theater lights within a channel letter. And how we said that might be appropriate for something like a brew pub or like something like the scale of an extra space storage. And it wouldn't be everywhere that it's appropriate, but I thought we all agreed that we shouldn't prohibit it completely.
Is that different than what Meredith is saying in this?
The way I
So
read
this
this
is-
is
we've never-
combines both
yeah.
of them.
So
the way I
we've
read
never
it.
allowed those in Milton.
I understand.
And it
But
opens
we-
up, then it's sort of a sliding, it just felt like a slippery slope. Then you're like, okay, well, they have that, well, why can't I have a neon light? You know, it becomes, if you've got neons,
It's kind of a historic sign, that kind of a sign. I'd like us to come back and revisit this
Well,
then,
maybe
because these need
then-
to get split apart at the very minimum. They shouldn't be lumped together in the same paragraph. Because a gas station sign is one thing. This other kind of sign with a visible light source is another. So I can even think of like color, like if you have an LED that provides a color. There can be, let's just say it's at the Arts Center wanted to do something, there would be limited places that might be appropriate, but it's,
but once you start doing it, then once you make that an exception, what I was discussing with Carolyn is, I think there are rare I wouldn't disagree that there are rare times, but the bar is higher, it's a higher bar for the ZBA, and I would much rather see it prohibited, but then if they wanted to go to the ZBA, that the sign review committee could say, you know what, this is a rare special occasion that I think it would be appropriate, where it doesn't seem that one business one business has something, another business is gonna want it. So you could have all Lower Mills all wanting to have,
I thought that she said that a variance doesn't apply to a sign. So you're
to the use. To the use, so you could get a use variance. But that's actually interesting, because I didn't think that we would be able to do as much in here with the sign review committee in terms of like what they could and couldn't sort of like vary. Like I wasn't aware that that would be okay. So what Carolyn clearly is the expert on this, and I think it's great because it gives that flexibility on the design side, right? Now, I don't know whether or not a positive recommendation out of the sign review committee would sway the zoning board to give a variance. I don't know. But the way this is structured, it really does give that sort of like more juice to the sign, you know what I mean? Like I'm just thinking out loud that I can see how that could work. But clearly, yes, a special variance is gonna be a higher bar. It's gonna be a higher bar. So if it's prohibited, then it's gonna be it's gonna be a higher bar for somebody to try to do one of those signs.
At a minimum, I disagree. We spent a lot of time talking about this last time. I don't think it should be prohibited. I'd like to get John's, if he's on
Yeah, I'd
the
like to-
call, opinion about it. But at a bare minimum, I don't think we should be in the same paragraph.
I've never seen a sign like that in Milton.
So I like agree with Cheryl. I do like the Walter Baker sign, and I do think that that the instances I think would be rare. You know, it might even be appropriate even at like the paper mill site, you know, if that ever gets developed, because that's on the Boston side, and if it's a brick building or whatever. So because it's rare, like it's not going to happen frequently, shouldn't we sort of prohibit it
I don't
and give it the option?
But why is somebody gonna spend a lot of time designing something that's prohibited? It's just not gonna happen. And, you know, we already have a reputation of being a very difficult town to work in and get your permits in. And so if something's in your zoning as prohibited, you think people are going to say, yeah, I'm gonna just try and slug my way through it? I don't think so. And so, you know, you stifle kind of the business identity for a potential business. You know, people were talked about exciting things that could come to the property, you know, that JD Wild owns, and he has some nice ideas for it. It just doesn't seem, just because Milton hasn't had a sign like that, we haven't had very
I just don't
vibrant
think that's-
areas, you know,
And I think this
honestly.
is gonna be great, but I think what they're doing, you know, across the street, they're doing some gooseneck lighting, you know, their plans with their light, they're doing gas lights. I think, you know, if you have real lit gas lanterns, I don't think that's the vibe that we're going for. And I think this is, we have to think sort of long-term, and, you know,
So I think
just-
that
I think
we
we're gonna.
shouldn't be dictating 19th century technology of gas lights for all new businesses.
I'm not dictating that for all, no, we had said, you know, wouldn't it be great if this is the gaslight district, if this becomes a gaslight district, and JD liked the idea, so they are implementing that. So that's sort of the vibe and the feel that I think our business districts, we want them to be more charming, we don't want them to feel more urban.
But we haven't asked the residents and the business community that question. When you say we don't want that, who's the we? Who's decided that? What
Yeah, well, I
public
know my
process has
neighbors
there
wouldn't
been?
approve me doing AM
I think
signs like
John,
that.
John
John has
Zanowitz
a-
has
yeah.
his
John,
hand raised,
can we
I just
let
wanted to
John
make sure you
just
knew that.
add his thoughts? John, sorry.
All right, yeah, I was looking, that's, your illumination section is different from what we discussed last week or a couple weeks ago. Because back then we had a section that was permitted by right, which I still see in there. We had permitted by special permit, where we had reverse lit lights and then it internally illuminated lights. Now it says see section 5H2 and there's no 5H2.
So
And then it talks about 5H3 under variances, but I don't see those sections in here.
5H2 is
So-
on, 5H2 is on page 9, picks up on page 9. Signs
So it's
allowed by
not under section Oh, I
Sounds-
see. I'm at
Yep, signs allowed by special
5H2
permit.
is on 9.
Yep, picks up on page 9, signs allowed by special permit from the zoning board of appeals. And yes, that would be the section, you're correct, John, that would be the section that was amended by moving those illuminated signs out of the special permit category and
Oh, I
into
see
the,
it
back
now.
into the prohibited category, yes.
5H2
Which is where it had been
sounds allowed.
originally.
Reverse lit signs illuminated by white light only and internally illuminated signs. Okay. That's where they got put. Okay, thank you.
So
And
I
then-
have in my notes from the last meeting that by special permit, we were adding 3 things. Internally lit signs, fabricated letters with a visible light source, and roof mounted signs. So now, outside of that discussion, there's been a total change in that approach.
No, it was still the first two, because that last,
So there's still the roof signs are there, the reverse lit illuminated by white light only and internally illuminated signs are all still under special permit. But yes,
on
the,
page 2.
that section under 3 was amended and moved back to prohibited. Yes, you're correct. So part of what was discussed for special permit was moved back to under prohibited. It was originally in prohibited.
So I think
And
I'm gonna need time to compare these drafts because this is enough difference from what I thought we agreed to at the last meeting. So I'm fine going through what's in here, but I would like an opportunity after the meeting to go through and
Sure.
compare these.
And because I didn't hear what you were talking about, having the digital signs like up on the top of the roof. I heard that you were thinking a rooftop sign, which that's another thing that, and maybe we can think about this, or if we wanna discuss tonight. I'm more concerned now, like after our conversation, thinking about, again, having this in the, by special permit, that you can have an above the, on the roof, a sign up above. And thinking again, if we're ever gonna get rid of the sleepy sign on top of that, I think the ZBA will have a really hard time in not reapproving that every time. And I think that's the goal, is that we did not that's not the look that we wanted in Milton. So I would even suggest taking, and when I talked to Carolyn, again, if somebody wants a sign up on top of the roof, they can go to the ZBA still.
So I would like from Carolyn, the rationale on being able to get a variance for signs, for these kind of signs, when you have a special permit process, is different than the kind of variance they get now. This is going to the zoning board of appeal. And I thought that she raised some question about that last meeting, about getting variances for this type of sign.
Yeah, I think she was pretty clear that it would be a really high bar.
It's
So
on my
it-
bar.
But you can get a special permit for it, so it's
No.
not prohibited.
No, she's saying that these should be prohibited and the bar is super high. And so it's totally different.
higher.
No, it's super high
It's,
because it's almost, I think,
I do kind of like this sign review committee thing, though. I think we might be able to finagle a bagel there a little bit.
John, we spoke about this last week and did you, what's your feeling about an idea of a special permit versus a prohibition when the bar is really high on being able to get a variance on internally lit roof mounted or fabricated letter signs with a visible light source?
Yeah, we could review it and then make a recommendation to the ZBA, and then it could go to them for approval. I think that's a good path.
Do you want it to make it extremely hard to have that happen because of the bar that's necessary for a variance? Or do you want to have it be something where there's a public hearing and there's consideration given, so the bar is not quite as high?
I think the special permit bar is high enough. I don't think they should have to go for a variance. This variance, you gotta show hardship. It's a much higher level. I think if it went to special permit, we reviewed it and then went to the ZBA. I think then you have two boards reviewing it.
That's my feeling.
So would it give it, I thought one of the things was that our bylaw doesn't give enough teeth to prohibit. So if it's in the prohibit list, and then it can be reviewed, as opposed to being reviewed and then prohibited. So if I was an applicant, I would wanna go in saying, oh, this sign that I wanted is a really, it's going to be a tough hurdle for me to clear, but maybe I can do it. As opposed to if it's by, so I wouldn't be disappointed. If it was the other way around, as oh, you can get it by a special permit, then I'd be really disappointed that I couldn't get it.
Right, it seems like
They would have to meet, the criteria spelled out in the bylaw, if the applicant meets the criteria spelled out in the bylaw, that's not to say that the permit granting authority can't be arbitrary or capricious, but if they do meet those requirements, ultimately they should prevail. So it's all there, like the criteria, so
that's why maybe it should be in the prohibited, and then with the pathway to get a special permit for it.
But
so there's two
it's not a
different
special permit.
It's-
things. It would end up being two different things because prohibited means it's not allowed.
You can't even, it's just not
So it's kind of
allowed.
like billboards, like you guys definitely don't want billboards, right? I mean, that to me was sort of like front and center, right? You definitely don't want billboards. Billboards are gonna get prohibited. Somebody could try to maybe come and get a variance for a billboard. They're not gonna get the sign review committee to say they want the billboard, I'm guessing. I don't know why the sign review committee would wanna, help somebody get a billboard. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there could be some fantastic billboard, I don't know. I mean, sometimes there's all these creative things that happen, but so it's not both. It's either gonna be prohibited and you need a variance, or it's gonna be a special permit use. It's one or the other.
And then if you got a variance by use, then it really can just be with that current business and it would not be transferable to the next owner.
No, it would be transferred.
Be transferred.
That was what we said last meeting.
Because that's the problem with the Sleepy sign, it is transferable. And we're trying to opt out to stop it so it's not transferable.
No, signs are not transferable from an old business to a new business.
But the former Sleepy sign, because that was granted, new businesses keep getting to be able to put a sign there at that size
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, it was never granted by the sign committee. It keeps getting granted by,
Right,
I assume either the ZBA or the select board, one or the other.
Right.
right, but that, I think,
I mean, this is an area that we're looking at being a local historic district, like one of the areas that you're talking about where the brew pub, the only place that really would be where JD Wild's property is. And I don't drive around other communities that I think of Milton being similar and see signs on top of buildings and,
they're
channel
limited, and that's why there would be special permit. And I mean, John, we spoke about this last week as a roof mounted sign in limited areas or limited applications, the same for the fabricated letters with a visible light source. Do you still think that those should be allowed in limited applications? I mean, because Meredith is really talking about banning them completely.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last time about halo lit, reverse lit signs like you have on extra space storage.
and
Something
those
like
are
that. I
special
think
permit. Those are fine,
That's
I
a
think.
special permit,
Right.
right? And internally illuminated signs. Is that what you're talking about, Cheryl?
Well-
Internally illuminated?
Well, the internally illuminated are going to be allowed by special permit in this. So the question was, my understanding is that there was agreement at our last meeting that we would also by special permit allow fabricated letters that have a visible light source. So, like if you have like the theater kind of sign, like
Oh, like with little
Brown.
bulbs on it or
little
something?
bulbs on it, yeah. But, I mean, if we were ever to have a theater, let's say, or, a use, I used brew pub the last time as an example. But, there could be
It could be, yeah.
some application where that would tie to the use. And then a roof mounted sign, in industrial buildings, those were common in extra space storage. Baker Chocolate was industrial. That whole building complex was industrial at one time. And the
Yeah,
paper
those-
mill would
those-
be industrial, as you said, Meg.
Yeah, those buildings did tend to have rooftop, in the olden days, rooftop mounted signs, correct?
Right.
And it's, I think it's different. I have a rooftop mounted sign, but it's not lit.
Well, these are separate.
Yeah,
You don't have to be
Right.
necessarily lit.
so
It can be
under,
roof
on the
mounted.
page 10 where it says, they were only allowed upon the grant of a special permit. Yep, I understand that, but we're talking about on page 6, the addition of the
Yeah, number
prohibited.
8 is really combining the visible light source. And then it combines the price signs and digital displays and neon related to gas stations. So those are really two different kinds of.
I mean, this seems like it would actually not even pass our light trespass bylaw that we just passed.
Good point.
This is dark sky compliant. We worked really hard on that light trespass and now we're saying, okay,
Light trespassing.
we were gonna tell developers that we want,
This kind of lighting is not gonna trespass onto other people's property.
if it's on a
Or light
rooftop.
pollution, that's the next,
And light
the light
pollution.
pollution.
Yeah. And there's Milton Hill neighbor, I mean, I'm just thinking, because we're talking about these Baker Chocolate. There's people who live, on that, that would be what they would be looking at.
I mean, this is a much tighter level of regulation. I think people would be supportive of not having billboards, but this level of
Neon lights.
every sign has to be historic, I think is
No,
a
that's not
different level.
what, no,
And this was originally prohibited, correct? So
No.
it's not a
No,
change.
yeah,
I think it was in a prior draft, it was.
Yeah, so
It was-
originally in our old,
up until
Up until we
Monday,
changed.
up until
Yeah.
Monday.
so all these years, it's always been prohibited.
No, it's just in these,
In this
iteration of
new
new zoning.
version.
In our handbook, in our regulations, it has always been prohibited. If you look at our handbook,
but it's not in it's not in zoning that way. It's in the.
that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, I
That's why
remember
we're
when I
doing this,
owned-
because
yeah.
what's been in our regulations, which has always been what has been used by the sign review committee, what is in the regulations was not in the zoning. And so that's part of what we're doing is we're putting what has always been the practice into our zoning. We're not,
So
the
we're prohibiting
goal is not to
more.
expand. No, this is all prohibited currently.
So John,
So
is
if I
that your
can jump
understanding?
in. When I
That's what I'm
owned,
trying to look that up.
I'd wanna look that up too. Is it in
Remember when I owned
the
Ben from
guidelines or in the
2000?
bylaw? Sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to speak over you.
oh, that's okay. So I just remember when I owned Ben's from 2008 to 2013, I tried to do the neon open sign in my window. And the building inspector came in, he was a customer, and he just said, look, you can't have that sign. There's no neon allowed in this town. And I was surprised at that, but I took it down. So I don't think we're doing anything new here by getting rid of neon. And I can't think of a place where you would actually want a neon sign besides a gas station. The only place I've ever seen neon look good is up in Newburyport. And it's a restaurant called the Black Cow. It's an old industrial building. It used to be, ironically, Davis Auto Electric, an auto repair shop. Auto part shop. And on the outside of the building, it says carburetor repairs in neon. It's a really old, really neat retro sign. It's got nothing to do with the Black Cow restaurant. It's just a cool sign, almost like a trademark of that area of Newburyport. And the owner left it there. I mean, if that guy didn't have that sign there, his business would not suffer. And I kind of agree with Meredith where I don't think neon's appropriate for Milton. And there might, like the Walter Baker Chocolate Factory, that gigantic Walter Baker sign up there is there, but you would never build that building and want to put that sign up top. And you know what? I like that in Boston. I don't like that in Milton. So yeah, that's where I am on that. So I guess I like this the way it's written. I mean, I'd like it a little bit. I'd like to get rid of the neon somehow, so you can't have it unless it's grandfathered. And that's the way I read this. But not allowing it by special permit would completely omit it.
So is it the
makes
question of
The bar
having,
very high.
makes the question of whether it's special permit or prohibited. And the question really is, if it's prohibited and you can, how open is really a variance option? And my understanding from our meeting that with Carolyn, that it's a super high bar, which leads me to think it's not likely. And if you think about zoning or variances, typically you have to show some kind of hardship. And what would be the hardship on a sign? So I just don't think it's right to say, well, you could still get it by variance, because I really don't think that that's going to be a possibility. So it's either a question of whether you allow it by special permit or you just ban it. I think that's really the two options.
I feel like even, and it's a little off topic, but getting variances even to build an addition on your house, it seems to not be a high bar these days. If it's a hardship, if it's a topography, and there's one other thing, soil composition or something. Those are supposed to be the only reasons you're supposed to be able to get a variance. And if you watch the ZBA, they hand out variances left and right. And as long as a neighbor doesn't complain about it, then it's granted. So a variance to me seems like it's easy to get in this town.
Not if you have someone who's opposed, if your next door neighbor is opposed to it, you're not getting the variance. And also you can have an appeal of those, right? So
An appeal on a variance is
Rare.
well, and it's pretty much guaranteed to prevail. Unless there's a really, most people just don't have the wherewithal to follow through on an appeal.
the appeal, I mean, like you said, they grant them, but if somebody appealed it, then the grounds for which they've granted that become under scrutiny. And I know that I've heard of people in Milton where their neighbors have appealed a ZBA decision and they didn't, it got overturned. Because, so the problem we have, and there's a reason so many are given out, is zoning was added after much of it was already built and the zoning didn't match what was built, so everything's non-compliant. And otherwise you restrict anybody from doing it.
Yeah, and I understand all that, but it's just, to say that getting a variance is a high bar, I don't think it necessarily is.
I think it would be for the signs versus what it is for the houses, for the reasons that just spoke about.
Probably.
And I think if it had the recommendation of the sign review committee, if it was, they were going to the ZBA for it, if it was a situation where the sign review committee could say, you know what, this is a situation where this would be good, this would be recommended, it was supported by residents, I think it would be granted. And I do think it's, they're a little more lenient with variances. And I don't think, I think this is not something that we want to encourage. And I do feel like if they saw it in a special permit, they're like, oh, that might be cool. Like they might not have even thought about doing one, but if they saw it in here, they would be like, oh, maybe that could be sort of neat and we could do that, which they would have otherwise done something completely different.
And plus, this can be tweaked in the future. I mean, we're gonna put the zoning into effect, and if there are things that come up, it can be amended at town meeting. So at
Yeah,
some point,
this-
we're gonna have to put this out there.
We've
And
had this
I
on the
don't
agenda
have
how
a
many
problem.
weeks?
I know.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with changing this to a variance and making and kind of getting rid of neon, except where the existing gas stations have it and the other two gas stations in the name of equity have the option to do it. I don't think most builders or developers or restaurateurs are going to not open a business in Milton because they can't get a neon sign.
It's not just neon though.
It would
Look
be
at
like you
the
said, the
paragraph,
theater.
there's a lot of things listed here.
Yeah, like you said, like a theater type of sign with the
Yeah, and I'm not so
bulbs.
sure I'd want, my name in lights in the middle of East Milton Square, like an old theater sign. I
Well,
don't think it's gonna fit. We just don't have that giant commercial area that warrants.
it does, you're conflating like rooftop sign with the fabricated letter sign, which they don't necessarily have to be rooftop mounted.
I'm just
Sounds like-
addressing the neon situation. I'm not talking.
Sounds like
rooftop.
everybody's had change of heart since the last meeting.
I
which,
think I misunderstood, so maybe that's my fault, because I had always, that was one of the impetus in doing this, was because we did get appealed and we didn't have enough teeth to really keep a neon sign from being put up.
So what I would say is you're taking, you say that you wanna make it less like more teeth, so, but we're still giving, if the sign review committee says it's okay, then it's still okay. So there's still a lot of subjectivity in it. So
Prohibited,
let's just say it's
prohibited
prohibited,
signs.
prohibited.
The way I understood that was the sign review committee writes a recommendation and the ZBA would make the determination.
Correct.
Correct.
And prohibited signs aren't coming to the sign review committee. They're prohibited.
No,
There you go.
they still would, John. We made sure that they would still come to you.
If there's an
Prohibited signs?
Anything
if there's
lit.
an application in front of the zoning board for a variance, then yes, then you're.
Okay, then they
Yes.
would ask us to weigh in on it. Okay.
That's why I wanted to make sure that they would always, any lit sign would come to the sign review committee.
Okay.
Or prohibited size,
Right,
anything.
yeah. So that was the one piece, but how do people feel about the rooftop signs? It does,
Well, before you get to that, I think you still need to split these two types of signs. You're
Which-
combining a lot of different types of signs in number 8. Signs fabricated with letters, numbers, designs, or images consisting of an exposed or visible light source emitted from the face of the sign, including but not limited to incandescent and fluorescent bulbs, light emitting diodes, or LED price signs, LED digital display signs, neon tubes, and neon LED signs. Provided, however, that LED price signs at fuel stations in the business district may be permitted by special permit.
So that would get added back under special permit uses. LED price signs at fuel service stations in the business districts. That would get added back under special permit uses. Okay? That's pretty much where it was before.
So it end at neon LED signs, period, under prohibited, and then the last sentence would go under.
LED price signs at fuel service stations in the business districts. Will be a special permit use for fairness to the
Right.
gas stations.
because that seems, we don't want to be unreasonable.
And that's something I didn't realize, the fairness part of it last meeting.
And then you guys need to decide, sounds like you want to keep the balance of the paragraph under prohibited.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Because it's really not gonna happen all that often. I can't.
one thing I heard during all of our, whether it's MBTA or anything that we've been working on, is we want Milton to stay a town and not start looking like a city. I've heard that, I can't tell you how many times, everyone's like, please, we wanna keep this a town. We have terms on our website, that say a bucolic tree-lined community with stone walls and green space. I think, we want great businesses, we wanna encourage them, but I don't think this is necessary to achieve that. And it just opens I think fights that we don't need to have, unnecessarily. From the community, I know how upset East Milton was when that one gas station went in. It was front page, Milton Times, neighbors were coming out. Neighbors get upset about so much these days. The light trespass, all of, the issue at Turner's Pond. Like, if we had those regulations in place, that would have never happened. And this is just to make it clear, to make it simplified, and to not.
There's such a thing as overregulation, which inhibits business, and we get very little business tax revenue, and we have very underperforming business districts in Milton Village in particular.
Well, we have a lot of things in the pipeline that are coming, which are exciting, so.
And I'm the
we'll see.
prime example of overregulation, so I am sympathetic to overregulation, 100%. But I'm also sympathetic to everything that Meredith said about keeping us a town. We do above Boston, and that really, when people come into my business, I can literally see them taking a deep breath. And that's what it is. You leave the city to come to a suburb, and it's like, the green spaces and the trees, and
The space and the parking. I mean, your spot is awesome. You get out of your car, you walk around, you go to the barn, but you get to park. It's relaxing.
So I understand being overly regulated, but I think a new business coming into town, to Jim's point, I don't think having a sign is gonna make or break that business. And I do love the look of a brew pub sign, and I love the Pepsi sign up by me, I love it. But I think I just love it from a historical perspective, not from a new business perspective. So I think I'm okay keeping it in prohibited and then moving the last sentence to by special permit.
Okay. I think that was the biggest thing for that page.
Do you want me to pick back up with just these
Yeah.
these bubbles? So just to confirm, John, that the both faces of the freestanding signs do not count, it's just the single face. So she made that
Yeah.
correction there on page 7.
Yes.
Yep, she included that cross section as we discussed at the last meeting.
Yes.
Page 9, number 3, second paragraph, if the application proposes any type of illumination, the applicant shall meet with the sign review committee prior to said committee issuing a recommendation to the building commissioner or zoning board of appeals as applicable. Okay?
Mhm.
Okay, just want to
Now,
make sure.
there's just a question, why does it go to the building commissioner and not the ZBA?
So if it was something that is as of right, as opposed to a
Okay, it
special
goes to the
permit.
building commissioner.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
gotcha, thank you.
and then this next section, there's no comments on it, I'm comfortable with it, I don't think I really need to read through it unless anybody has any questions on it, but it's that's specific to, and again, this is where I'm kind of positing that the sign review committee's role is enhanced here, where you can issue a denial that the building commissioner needs to uphold. So I thought you guys were more of an advisory recommendation sort of role, and this is giving you that power of denial. So the sign review committee kind of has more teeth in this, I think.
And it's really, this is really reflective of the way it's been working anyway with the denial.
Right. So that, I think that's why that was highlighted, just wanna make triple sure we're okay with that. So moving on to page 10, this is what we were just talking about, the special permit section. Signs located on the roof, reverse lit signs illuminated by white light only, eternally illuminated signs, and now we've just added back LED price signs at fuel stations located in the business districts. So, and her comment here was just to be very clear about direct, signs that have direct lighting are as of right. So we allow direct illumination by right in section 6F, so I think this should be signs illuminated by means other than direct lighting. So if you look on page 12, under illumination, that's where that reference is to externally illuminated signs. Signs may be externally illuminated by white steady stationary light. Or upward if ground mounted and directed solely at the sign, that's permitted by right. Okay, I just wanna make sure everybody's comfortable with that comports with everyone's understanding of what you can and can't do by right. So if anything in the special permit section is confusing about lit signs, we just wanna make sure we're all kind of on the same page.
And so if, when a sign is lit, when does it get shut off? Is it allowed all night long to be?
No, there's still hours in here.
There's still hours of operation?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's the
That's fine.
same 11
Okay.
PM to 6 AM
is off,
with a,
okay.
yeah.
So
I
that,
think that's coming
Yeah,
up
that's
a
in
little
there,
bit.
yeah.
so that applies to, as
That's
of right?
still,
Yep.
yeah.
Applicable to all signs.
Okay.
So the question is under, at the top of page 10, the grant that can be granted by special permit. Cheryl, you're number I, Roman numeral 1, signs located on the roof. I had said okay with that last time, but I sort of rethought it, and I think that we don't want to include that in there.
I've said my piece
I
about
know.
these.
So wait, so to
So that would
extend-
go back.
Repeat myself.
So located on the roof of the building, I mean, I have one of those signs, so I would want that to be special permitted. And maybe it doesn't,
Right, so we'll leave that.
maybe it doesn't extend above the building's roof line. If,
Well, does yours?
Yeah.
So where is it then?
it's between two dormers.
Oh. So that's not above the roof line.
It doesn't extend above the roof line, but it's still a roof mounted,
And it's not lit, right, Maggie?
and it's not
Not
lit.
lit.
No,
I think that's the real deal breaker.
I think it's the lighting, I think, is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And then if you did it so it extended above the roof line, then you're just increasing the overall height of
So
the building. But mine
Right.
doesn't go above my roof line.
no, so this could allow for an internally lit sign on top of a building.
Only if special
permit.
By special permit,
If they recommend it. Yep.
by special permit, right.
And
Okay.
the sign review committee, I don't know if the sign review committee has the power to deny an application that's in front of the zoning board. But they could definitely issue a negative recommendation.
Yeah, it'd be either a positive or a negative recommendation to the ZBA. Right.
And John, at your meetings, how often do you listen, not, this is gonna this is, how often do the neighbors come and air their grievances and how much weight do you give that?
Typically, it's around lit signs
Okay,
is when they show up.
all right.
If it's not a lit sign, not too often.
So you do take into consideration their I don't know, their
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
thoughts and feelings. Right.
Yep.
So I just don't see the Sleepy's sign ever being denied by ZBA if it says, they're gonna look at this and say that you can do it by special permit. And we've already allowed it. I just don't see them, I don't see us ever being able to get rid of that sign. If this is, unless this isn't prohibited. Huh?
Can't get rid of it, it sounds like.
No, I mean,
anyway.
unless they make a complete change to the sign.
Yeah, but we're just trying to avoid another Sleepy's sign.
Correct. And I think this allows another Sleepy sign to go into special permit. Unless it's prohibited.
Is that sign internally illuminated or reverse lit?
It's like LED.
It's like LED,
Yeah.
it's digital.
It's a message board, basically.
So they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that type of sign, but they could put it in the same location, potentially by special permit. Right?
True.
But it's at a billboard.
Yeah. Right, I know.
True, so it could be denied on a billboard and
I think a
because of the
billboard
lighting
was,
source.
didn't you guys settle on billboard was very specific that it was not on
Yes.
at the location of the business? So you.
Well, it's not advertising the business. It's advertising something other than the business that's located at the
Oh,
location.
okay, that's fair, yeah. Yeah, so I guess you could, yeah, but I think you also have, you've also got dimensional
it's 50
guardrails
square
on that
feet.
one, right?
50 square feet, so it would have to be smaller than what exists.
Yeah, so yeah, somebody probably, yeah. You could put something up and be advertising, whatever the heck.
Would have to prohibit rooftop illuminated signs to avoid the Sleepy sign situation in the future.
You prohibit Maggie's sign,
No, I'm not illuminated.
She's not illuminated.
but it's rooftop.
It's so it'd have to be
Hey,
rooftop,
rooftop illuminated.
comma. Oh, rooftop and
Or,
illuminated,
so it's
Exactly,
or.
rooftop and
and.
So everybody be okay with Sleepy's if it wasn't illuminated?
So you would need, if you wanted to change your sign and it's considered a roof sign, you would need a special permit. If this gets adopted as it's written. Even if it's not illuminated or anything, just,
Oh, my signs now need a special permit.
And if it's prohibited, you would need a variance.
It's, yeah.
correct.
I think we should put in the prohibited sign. In the prohibited section. But
Number one,
number one,
Can you say a rooftop sign that is illuminated?
You could say a non-illuminated sign located on the roof of a building or that ascends above the building's roof line could be a special permit.
I
And
would
then
be
you could
fine with
prohibit the
that.
ones that are lit.
I would be fine with that.
so non-illuminated signs located on the roof of the building?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know,
And then what about ones that extend above the roof line?
non-illuminated signs, okay.
So if it extends
Probably-
above the roof line, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but to me, that's more of, you know, I'd be afraid that the wind could get behind it and create like a sail of it. That's why I think one of the reasons why we put ours where we put it, so the wind wasn't coming from behind it.
You would need a building permit.
Yeah.
You'd have to demonstrate that it met the requirements of the building code.
And the only reason why I wouldn't want to prohibit it above the roof line is if there's a flat roof building. That guy gets no sign at all.
Yeah, right.
sometimes you have those faux, sort of like a, what are they called, in the storefronts, it's like a faux kind of,
Parapet wall.
yeah, like a, yeah. And that's above the roof line. That's just
Right.
fake.
And those can be nice too.
So,
Okay, so what do we, what
So
does
this
everybody want?
so far, we've got non-illuminated signs located on the roof of the building, or they extend above the roof line. Reverse lit signs illuminated by white light only, and internally illuminated signs, and then the LED for the gas stations. Those are the 4 special permit uses that I've got. Are they all staying?
what you would have to do then is put, are we covered already for illuminated roof mounted signs under prohibited? Is that covered already, or does that need to be added?
Illuminated signs above the roof line.
Yeah, because we're saying here non-illuminated. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Say
So that would be number 8, yeah. So that would be what, 14?
Yeah.
Okay, so 14. Is it XIIIII or is it I before the other one? No, it's
IV.
XIIIII, right?
No, I think it's XIV.
IV, yeah.
XIV, isn't that 16? Oh, that's 14.
No,
VIS.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Oh, it's been a while.
How often are we using Roman numerals?
Okay.
So illuminated signs located on the roof, that's what's going there?
Yeah.
Okay. Illuminated signs, okay. Those are prohibitions. 14th prohibition.
before you get to the waivers, this next paragraph, I'm looking up the general law, chapter 48, subchapter 9, and it says special permits. It doesn't say, so that's what's governing it. I don't see anything related to signs under in chapter 9. So I guess I still would like to have Carolyn talk about.
Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit today, actually, on the phone, so yeah, absolutely, yeah, this was definitely my question was whether or not, we would be specifying like a finding versus the special permit criteria. And she made a distinction between a special permit, capital S, capital P, and a special permit, lowercase s,
See, this is
lowercase p. So it pretty much comes down to, the basis upon which you're making your finding. But yes, we can definitely clarify that more. And I also want to clarify as well with Carolyn, the process. She walked me through the process for pre-existing non-conforming signs, but I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear on something new that comes through in a residential zone. Because I'm still not 100% clear how that's gonna work.
And then there is no section 5H4 below. In that
Right.
same paragraph. If you go to section 5, there's no H.
Yeah, I think there's a numbering issue with this. Because on page 4, you have section 5 sign permit, which runs through the top of page 10, and then it goes to 3, 4, 5 again.
Yeah, she may have moved that section, John, that's a good catch.
I think, because that was
Yep.
what threw me off too, with the
Yep.
5 variances.
And that's
So
in more than
that's
one place that references
Yeah.
section 5H4.
absolutely, yep, section 5H4, yep. Yeah, we'll fix that, and there was another section too where some of the lettering, there was a repeat of one of the letters. So we'll get that stuff cleaned up for sure.
You got 2 sections 5s right now.
So the
2 3s, 2 4s.
Yeah, fine. John, do you have the most current version that she sent today, 9 hours ago? Are you
I have the, oh, she sent it to me at 4:18, so,
probably the same one?
yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of a moving target, guys, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, she sent it to you, Jim, at 1:37, yeah.
I'm not seeing it fine, but that's all right. No.
So how do you, so next steps on that section then, so we wanna have another conversation with Carolyn about that specific, the specific language there, Cheryl,
Well, I just would,
under B?
I'd just like to understand it, you know, it's referencing the general law, which I'm looking at, and I just would like to understand myself what in here applies,
Mm-hmm,
or how it applies maybe,
yeah,
because somebody may ask us that, like at town meeting or something,
Yeah,
we've never
sure.
talked about these references, and I'd like to understand them, especially because we're talking about special permit versus variance versus as of right. And I think people
Right.
might want to understand the three.
absolutely.
And so the same would apply for the variance, wherever that language is. You know, making sure we understand it. I'm sure there's a reference somewhere
There is, well, yeah,
in terms of the general law.
under, yeah, 5.
Yeah, I have no concerns that she can lock that down.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the next section is the waivers by the sign review committee, 25% waiver on dimension, 25% increase on pull-out sign area, 25% reduction in the required setback. Did you wanna circle on that with John on
Yeah.
that 25 reduction on
John,
setback?
yeah, because we had talked about putting language in, saying that, you know, there's a 15-foot setback, and we'd said unless otherwise determined by the sign review committee. The way Carolyn wrote it was a percentage that the sign review committee could have. And I thought we might wanna increase the granting of a waiver to reduce the setback of a sign not to exceed 25%. You might wanna move that closer to the street than 25%, right?
You might, yeah.
I was gonna suggest.
Yeah, if it's a parking lot entrance sign, you probably want it up very close to the street so they can see it.
So at least a 50%. You could make a waiver of moving it up.
Can I ask where the 15 feet came from? Just curious.
That was in I think the article that Tim had presented us, that was language
Okay.
that was pulled from there.
I just don't know if that's problematic.
So I asked Liz
Yeah.
about Fuller Village today, and she sent me what had been applied for in '24. And I saw on this drawing in that application that the signs are set back 17 feet from Blue Hill Ave. So maybe it's a sight line on a road like, you know, Blue Hill
Right.
Ave. I don't know if you can see that here, but
Did you send
That's-
that to me? Do you want me to try to share screen or do we need to?
you sent this to me in a
Oh, I
link
sent,
to
oh,
the.
that was in the folder.
in the
Okay,
folder.
Gotcha, okay.
Fuller
Yeah,
Village.
I'd like to give more discretion to the sign review committee to,
But yeah, I'm fine with the discretion, but Liz asked where the 15 came from. I don't know where it came from exactly, but I thought this was interesting relative to that discussion, that it's 17 here. And maybe that's where it came from. But I can see where it depends on the application.
It does come down a sightline, I think. And maybe that's what the 15 comes in because of the length of the car. It's what, how long's the car? 10 feet. So maybe that's where it came from.
Okay.
so maybe increasing that to at least 50%.
So that would allow you to go down as low as like 7.5 feet. Does that sound reasonable, John?
Yeah, I mean, we look at it case by case and, check visibility, cars approaching it, cars pulling out.
All right, so we'll increase that to give more flexibility.
So you said that's gonna be 50%?
Do a 50%, yeah, rather than the 25. And that last one.
On these 25%, I was looking at the table that you provided, thank you for
Mhm.
looking at that. The amount utilized in the current zoning, for the most part, they're not hit. But with this proposed change, some of them would be now larger than what's allowed, but maybe within the 25%, but some of them would not even be within the 25%. So I'm curious did John get a copy of this, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just am curious what your thoughts are about the 25%. Or maybe it's not the percentage, but maybe it's where we are with the area allowed. So I don't know, maybe we wanna table it until we come back to there. But it's a combination of the two, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we like to make adjustments on how the sign sits on the building facade.
So I'm just wondering if that
Want
should be like 30% instead of 25, or whether we just need to go back to a little bit higher number, which is a little different, it's a little different section here.
The 25% probably gets a lot of these close.
Yeah.
Nails and Spa are at One Central, maybe not, but I think they did a lot of window lettering. So, and honestly, like, if you're, if you've got these, mixed use buildings with the retail on the first floor and the apartments above, like, you might get that type of a design, where you've got those big windows and they can letter them up as long as it's within that.
Right, so keeping it smaller and having the percentage, that's what you're saying is still a good thing.
Yeah, that probably is the only one that couldn't get all that lettering with the 25% waiver. Rest of them are pretty, it looks like they're pretty close. Well, the Brush Hill Center's not a good example, because that's really sort of an outlier.
Mhm.
And-
Most of the sort of
And the
typical ones, they don't even get close. Although this doesn't really capture a lot of the window stuff. I mean, you'd really have to go back and really look at the window stuff. Because the only reason I had the data on the nails and spa was because it was a recent approval. And they dimensioned every single lettering that they put up in those windows. There's lots of businesses that there's window signs, and so it's not in here.
But I think what this demonstrates is that reducing it is not going to be detrimental, because even the ones that are allowed don't even meet the amount that they're allowed,
Right,
right?
Yeah.
Based on your analysis.
no, I thought the analysis was really helpful,
Right.
and the pictures and photographs, because it backs up whatever we're, are putting into this. So are we leaving the 25%, or are we gonna table that and
Sounds like we're leaving it.
I think that, yeah, I think that's a good number, and if we ever find we need to adjust something,
We can.
we can. Was that it for page 10?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm down
It's
that,
okay.
I'm down that rabbit hole trying to find that section that was mislabeled, it's driving me nuts. All right, so page 11 talked about adding that language about the brand or the logo, which I think is great for the sign review committee's work. don't think there's any question under that section on variances. Definitely need to double check those section numbers though, for sure. Permitted by special permit, that just refers back to that section we were talking about at length, about the different special permit uses. I'm on page 12. So now this is where we get into some of the questions about dimensions, just to confirm these dimensions.
Yeah, so the residential, the Fuller sign is 5 feet wide by, let's see, 3 feet 7. No, 3 feet 9. No, what is, 3 feet 7, sorry. Which is 18 square feet. That doesn't count the granite posts. And the Winter Valley is 6 feet 6 by 3 feet, not counting the stone base and the vertical post. So that's 19.5 square feet. So 9 square feet seems like way too small. Just using those two as examples.
Condominiums, apartments, townhouses. I almost wonder, do you wanna separate out by the size of the development maybe? I don't know. Cause are you trying to have it so that people can't put up sort of gaudy signs in front of 6-lot subdivisions?
Well, there's nothing that guides the signage in residential areas, even businesses in residential districts, there's a lot of that. In East Milton Square, that big building where Rockland Trust is, that's in the residential district. So if you think about all the signs in residential districts, you can take Milton Hospital, so it's not just residential uses. So I think this would need to.
Seems a little small.
It's small, number one, but I also think we need to consider signs that are in residential districts, but they're not at entrances to subdivisions or multifamilies or apartments. They're also at, let's just say the 7-Eleven and the dental office at the corner of Reedsdale and Randolph, that's in a residential district. That hospice on the corner is in a residential district. The hospital's not zoned for.
So that would be, so I think that gets captured under B, which is the
Okay.
pre-existing non-conforming commercial uses located in the residential zones are subject to the same requirements as business districts.
Okay.
But I totally hear you, because that doesn't anticipate something new like the memory care. Or like
Childcare facilities.
right, which are, because they're under Dover, right? So I'm not
Is it
sure how
considered
much,
it's a commercial use?
I don't know.
I don't know,
honestly don't know.
signage, is the use is allowed, but is the signage considered,
Separate, like a separate consideration?
it can be reasonably regulated, I think.
Okay, well, that's good, because Avante got a call on that
We should confirm that with Carolyn,
Yeah.
right? But
What's interesting, I found, that most of our multifamily housing don't have signs. The new Hendry's building, 88 Wharf, they have, engraved in their Walcott Woods, just has it in their columns. There a lot don't have signs, but there are there are some, and especially our senior living, our Fuller Village, our Winter Valley,
And
Quissit Brook.
these new comp permits too.
and the new
They're all gonna
apartments.
need something.
They'll all have
And the
something.
thing is, it comes down to just the size of the lot and the proportion, it's all based on proportion. And some lot sizes and locations can tolerate a larger sign and others can't. Like
Well, this is-
imagine doing a big sign at the 7-Eleven 40B, like you have all those little houses on either side. So having an oversized sign there would be totally out of scale with the existing.
I would say though that if you're thinking about where we have these signs, 9 square feet is too small.
Yeah, so,
And-
yeah, I don't know what the correct,
I was gonna say 20
Sizes?
square feet because that's what Fuller and Winter Valley are, and they seem appropriate for
That's what I was gonna suggest too.
Yeah. So, and then that's a maximum again, so that the discretion goes back to the design review committee.
I'm good with that.
That's exclusive of a base and posts. So I don't know how we wanna say that, if we do.
Is it though? It is it? The dimensions,
Yeah.
are the
Yeah,
dimensions calculated exclusive of the base or post?
So John,
John?
that's a good question for you. If we said that the sign area can't be more than 20 square feet, do you understand that to exclude the posts and the base?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the way we typically review it.
And then the
that's-
next piece of this, 5 feet in height, the fuller sign is 5 feet. Because it's elevated and I didn't measure the stone.
What did you get for Winter Valley? Cause I got it closer to like 7 or 8.
Really? Because the stone, what did you get for the stone base then? Cause I
Well,
climbed it
I
and
did
I
it,
can only climb so high.
I just scaled it off. I mean, I'm 5'9", 5'10". I'm basically 6 feet and it was another 2 feet over my head. So I just kind of roughly said 8 feet tall.
that
When you're
tall?
dealing with height though, like it
I
is
think
gonna be from the ground level. Even if it is on like some kind of a base, it doesn't really matter because it's 8 feet above the sidewalk or the
Yeah.
driveway or whatever.
Oh, I see, because
I-
it's a bit elevated.
Yeah.
It's about 8 feet.
Yeah, height will go from the grade.
Yeah, so I would say, okay, because I'm looking at the photo now, the sign is elevated above where they have the plantings, because they have the plantings, so that you wouldn't see the sign if it wasn't elevated. And then they have the granite, or stone rather. I'm guessing like the stone was like 18 inches. And then, you could be right then, in terms of the overall height. If you add another, if it's elevated 2 feet, so you're saying like 7 or 8, so.
Yeah, it's about, I'd say closer to 8, especially when you add in the light. And, yeah, about 8. There's a
But
couple-
you're saying, but the, yeah, cause it doesn't look that large, cause it's up on a stone
Yeah, see how it's,
base, so I wouldn't include that with the
they measure it from grade.
from grade, even though it has a stone island, it's sitting on a stone island.
Can you
I
call
would-
it up so John can see?
I would
what
think
you're
We
doing?
would measure from the base of the stone.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Did you send me a picture of it from the bottom up?
Mhm. have
You
two
send it
photos.
to me, I can send it, or I said pull it up, okay.
Yeah, I
If not, I can, you can send it to me, I can send it to John.
Want me to text it or email it?
You can text it and then I'll text it to John.
Alright, let's see if this works, guys.
Oh, you got it. All right, never mind.
Was that it? Did you send me something else besides that?
That's
There's
a close.
2 photos.
Very close.
Second photo. Here we go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there's the stone
There's the
base,
stone
yeah.
base.
And I'm guessing it's like 18 to 24, because I stepped
Yeah.
up it without.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 18 to 24. But it was a good 8 feet because I stood in front of it and it was a good foot and a half, 2 feet over my head. With
So the actual sign
lights.
itself is probably, if you're saying,
I was gonna say, maybe the posts are 6 feet. It's probably an 8-foot post with 2 foot in the ground. So 6 feet, 6-foot post.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the post on the fuller was 5 feet.
So 20 feet for the sign and then I found one that was easily 10.
Square feet.
Personalized medicine on the corner of Brook and Central and, you know, that little doctor's office.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, easily 10 feet,
10 square feet,
10 feet high.
oh, 10 feet high. Oh, wow.
easily.
That might have been at that, well, that could have been a pre-existing non-conforming. But it also could be higher because that's a busy intersection.
I think maximum 8 feet.
I would agree, in a residential
And
neighborhood.
it can,
And they can give a variant, they can
they can increase that by 25%.
Yeah.
If they need to.
Well, what was the height?
8 feet,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it says measured from the natural grade to the top of the highest component of the sign, right?
so that would include that light in this case for Winter Valley.
Yeah, we would include the light on this, correct?
Okay. .75, you guys settled on that?
it seem to align with what you, the data that you provided for what is existing.
you see, like, if I looked at it, what was approved compared to what was allowed before. You know, there's a few that went above 50% of the area, but there's a lot of them that were even far less than that. So we're cutting this back by half, right? So I think we can do that, and then they've got the other
More than half.
25% to go.
More than half, from 2 to .75, so more than half.
Yeah, more than half. But even so, I still think, given the 25% increase that's allowed,
Yeah, I mean, half of these will be non-conforming.
but with the 25%, it won't be half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
true.
isn't it more regulation they have to go through to get that 25%? Are we talking about making it easier for people?
You'd have to make the case to the sign review committee to get the 25% extra
They
square
can allow
footage.
it, yeah. The sign review committee can allow a variation. Which they do because sometimes it doesn't look right on a building. That they approve larger signs to make it look.
But even so, they have, in the examples that we have, they haven't done that on a lot of them.
It's not many.
So John, what do you think about this at this 0.75 square feet in area?
I was looking at this and I was thinking, why bother change it? I mean, if most of the 90% of these signs aren't using the max that they need, the Starbucks is the only one that's really maxing it out, right at 95%. I'm just thinking, why even bother changing it if we want to be more regulation free and make sure that we lose our reputation of being a tough town to do business in?
Well, if you go back to what Meredith said earlier about the character of the residential district and not plastering buildings with more signs than necessary, this scales it back to something at a scale at which signs have been approved. So it's more consistent with signage that exists. So, I mean,
I'm
maybe
just saying, if it isn't
1.0.
broken, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. You know, I don't think anybody's coming to us complaining about having too big of a sign in their residentially zoned business that they live next door to. And
I think it was the concern with the large scale buildings that are now gonna be redeveloped, the one Elliott Street that are just massive.
that's in the business. Now, are we talking about in the business district or in the residential district?
These are,
Anywhere.
This is in the business
This is
district.
business.
Business, okay, all right.
And it also applies to any pre-existing non-conforming commercial signs that are in the residential districts. And because the town has a lot of residential zoning, you get a lot of historic businesses in the residential districts.
But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see an issue with it, but if you guys want to regulate it, I'm not gonna say no to it. I just don't see the need, I guess. I don't think it's been a problem and I don't see it being a problem.
So I think maybe we could adjust it from 0.75 to 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we should do one.
Yeah, okay.
Make the math simple.
Yeah.
That's true, that's a good point.
And there's still a 25%. I
Yeah.
think what it does, Jim, is it sets the tone or the standard for what you're trying to achieve, just the same as what you were talking about earlier.
Right.
So, the tone that's set by the current is we like a lot of signs. We'll be happy with a lot of signs. So this will say we're looking for more balance in the amount of signs. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
Sign.
All right, so on page 14,
Can I just,
oh, sorry, yep.
just kind of back before we touched on it, but I'm not sure this language is clear. It says pre-existing non-conforming commercial uses. We should also say those are pre-existing non-conforming in the residential zone. So what about a non-conforming in a residential zone? Is there any such thing as that wouldn't be pre-existing?
Well, so, did you guys change the zoning for the memory care?
We did.
So that's in a new zone,
Mhm.
it's an overlay zone?
Yes.
Okay. So, I don't know,
So just maybe
yeah,
think about that. I just want to make sure we're covered for the signs here.
I had the same question about new non-residential uses in the residential zones. I'm sure she can add something there to make that clear.
Because I think the hospital on the Highland Street side is very sensitive to being in a residential area. They have a very small sign on that side. It's larger on the Reedsdale side, but the entryway feels very residential and it's small.
So the other thing is our MBTA zoning, we have mixed uses allowed in areas that are currently only residential.
Yep.
And so we would want those new signs to have to follow, for the commercial part of it, to have to follow the business. And they're not necessarily in residential zones, they're in these new overlay zones.
So you want them to be in the more you want them to have the
Business.
wider, you want them to have the wider criteria of the business zones.
Yeah, because there's business uses there.
Okay. And not to restrict them to this 8 feet and the 20
No,
square
because
feet.
this is different, we're talking about like something about, I'm thinking like small-ish commercial, like you would have at 36 Central, for example, that could come in one of those mixed-use buildings. And so that's more similar to that business district.
And like the Ice House is gonna have a new retailer coming in there. That's
what?
residential. We don't know what yet. Anxiously waiting here.
Liz, I have a question on 8B under principal signs.
Yes.
I don't understand that. I still don't understand the sentence, no more than 2 principal signs shall be allowed for each business establishment. Just to me, that means you could put, you have a storefront and you could put two signs on it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think where this was coming from, I believe, I think it's an insurance company in East Milton.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a sign on their front facade, and then they had a parking lot along the side of their building. So then they had another sign facing the parking lot. And I think they wanted to get a third sign, and we let them have 2. So I think there could be 2 principal signs if you have 2 building elevations exposed to the public, but I wouldn't want to see 2 principal signs on a storefront.
So no more than 2 principal signs. A principal sign may be a flat wall sign, a sign attached to a wall, projecting out perpendicular, or a freestanding sign. So, yeah, so the scenario being somebody wanted to do 2 flat wall signs.
Right.
Right?
So, yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't want, is that allowed? It looks like it would be.
Yeah, it does. I mean, can you think of any scenarios where someone has had the type of building where might wanna do that?
No, the only times, like I said, it has two building elevations that are, can be seen by the public. Like
Right,
this one building, they had one along the main street, and then they had a sign that was along the parking lot. So they wanted to put a sign on the parking lot
right.
and on the front. And then I always forget the restaurant across from Starbucks. They have, 2 building elevations. So
Abbey
they could
Park.
have
Yeah.
Abbey Park, right? So
Abbey
they
Park.
could, in theory, they could have 2 signs, one on each elevation, but I would not want them to have 2 flat signs on one elevation. That,
So maybe we add language to this.
Can we say
given
that? Yeah.
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 Provided no more than 2 signs. Provided,
Like, so just repeat what you just said, John, which was basically that a single
2 building-
a single elevation would not have 2 principal signs, something along those lines.
yeah, it would be if your building has 2 elevations that are, I guess, exposed to the public view, something like
Yeah.
that.
provided there are 2 elevations.
Then a
Oh.
second sign is
That makes sense.
allowed, permitted.
Right, then you could get 2 signs.
So provided there are 2 elevations.
I mean,
Two
you
elevations
can have 2 signs, but they're different kinds of signs. You can have a
Yeah, but this-
freestanding and you can have, right, so that the ability to have the 2 signs remains, but you can only have 2 of the same kind of sign if you have 2 elevations that are exposed to the public view. Like,
Right, you could have
two
basically
flat
wall
like
signs.
like a corner lot,
Yeah.
and just wall signs? You don't want, you wanna
Yeah.
limit just to wall signs?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've never had a business yet that wants to do a wall sign and a projecting sign.
Right.
I mean, I guess they could, and I'm,
Surprise.
And we would want them
they've
visible
never come
on,
to us so a freestanding sign, you mean something on the sidewalk?
Well, like the freestanding
Is that
sign, like
covered
in front of like the nail place. They have
Oh, I
two-
see what you mean.
They've got
I
two,
gotcha.
they've got 2
Okay.
principal signs.
Okay, right, okay. Yep, I could see that. Yeah, it would be 2, I guess we'd have to specify for the flat wall signs. You need 2 building elevations.
Okay, yep, okay,
Okay,
that makes
that's-
sense.
Thank you.
Are we ready to move on? Okay, now we're back to height. On page
So-
14.
yeah, so this was a question, and Carolyn had put this in because she said in our current bylaw, we don't have any height requirements, so we had in the residential, we had the 5 feet, which we've now increased to 8 feet. She had 12 feet in there for commercial, but we said that for gas stations, but I thought, do we wanna rethink that for other freestanding signs? Do we want them to be a little bit smaller, given that there's a 25% allowance? 12 feet just seemed really tall for,
We just did 10 feet, right? Or do we do 8 feet? Sorry.
We just did 8
we
feet.
just did 8 feet.
So should we do 8 feet here?
So who
Eight-
has the
eight was
tallest
for- The 8
sign?
was for the residential districts.
So the tallest sign is the Dunkin' Donuts and the Citizens Bank.
Citizens, yeah.
And they both, I drove by and like, they're really big, like they didn't need to be so big. Obviously,
That's why back to one of my points before, is there can be such a thing as too much signage, like, and some businesses just think that bigger is better, more is better. John, you probably see that in applications.
Oh, yeah, especially with, like a Dunkin' Donuts or, banks, they wanna catch your eye as you're driving by.
yeah,
So
it tends
a
to be
low
the
sign
chain.
A low freestanding sign won't help them. They want something up above the cars that you can see.
So would 10 feet and then you could give an allowance, would that be?
I don't know what the Duncan sign is.
Shall be corrected. Weren't you saying you were kind of surprised?
I went by it, it was taller than I,
Yeah, it's gotta be, if you thought it was tall, it's gotta be at least as tall as that doctor's office.
so it seemed like they shouldn't be as tall as gas stations, if we're saying gas stations are 12 feet.
No,
So
they
maybe
shouldn't be that
10
high.
10 feet, and then there's discretion for the sign review committee to adjust that.
Well, I mean, an 8-foot sign you could easily see over a car. Well, yeah, 10 feet's probably better. You're right.
I mean,
But if you go up 25%, what's that?
maybe we
Another-
should be consistent and just do 8 feet.
25.
Maybe it should be 8 feet and then they can add on
If I-
too.
If I think about like East Milton Square, cars are going slowly there and you're trying to promote a walkable district.
Right.
Even in Milton Village where the street's wider and they're going too fast. You know, it would be nice to have even that get narrowed up at some point so that it really does feel more pedestrian friendly. So I do think if we're encouraging signs that are big enough for faster moving cars, then we're going against what you said earlier about kind of setting up a standard for the kind of district we want to see. And it's not the district necessarily that we have today, 100%, right? So if you
And if it's 8 feet, 25% will give us a 2-foot leeway. So that would get them up to 10 if they want to. So I would say let's do 8.
okay.
I think we might have skipped the question at the top of the page, has more to do with the clearance,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
supporting devices or stands. Freestanding sign shall be erected upon supporting devices or stands shall not exceed feet in height and shall provide so many feet of clearance under the sign area.
I was thinking about that. Do we need to specify clearance? Because I sort of would trust the sign review
I
committee
think we don't need
to
to.
determine that.
Yeah, I don't think we need to regulate that because that depends also on the facade of the building.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
You know, if you got a taller building, it might look better up higher.
okay. So just eliminate that paragraph entirely?
No, we would, oh, well, I guess,
Well, it says freestanding stand, it's setting the height and then you just,
then you're repeating it.
you just,
So freestanding sign shall not be part of an attached building erected on supports.
but you're just striking and shall provide.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
right.
And shall not exceed? That part shall not exceed so many feet in height and shall
No, the-
provide?
The part clearance.
Keeping the 8 feet, you're plugging.
Oh, I
8
see.
feet
That, yeah,
there.
I was thinking of something different. I was thinking of a sign projecting out from a building.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
This is freestanding.
Standing.
Yeah,
right, and
it's
it's,
back
and
to
it's,
8.
and this is the height of the supporting devices or stands as opposed to the height of the sign overall, which I think we've addressed under D for 8 feet in height.
So yeah, so we could probably just strike that whole.
I don't think we need the whole thing, right?
Yeah, but that
Well,
one,
does-
the other one's under principal sign. And this one's
Does
under
this also-
secondary sign, or no?
Do we have the height for the gas stations in a separate area?
Yeah,
Okay.
So page 14, at the top, that bullet point is underneath the B principal
oh yeah, secondary sign,
signs.
so we should have both, we should keep both.
So
Freestanding sign.
D is a separate item, so you could strike it from B and leave it as D to address it.
Freestanding
Then it
sign.
wouldn't-
It would apply
So,
to both.
I
the
think
secondary
we
and
can, I think we can keep the part, freestanding sign shall not be part of or attached to any building, period. It may be located elsewhere on a lot where it does not obstruct vehicular traffic, sightlines, or pedestrian traffic. A freestanding sign may contain signage for any or all of the businesses on a lot. A freestanding sign shall not have more than 2 faces. So I think we probably wanna keep all of that, because that's not related
Yes.
to height.
And just
Um,
take,
But we
and in
probably just
height.
wanna strike out the part about the clearance.
yeah,
Yes.
and shall provide blank feet of clearance, just cross that all off. And end with a period after height. So that,
Shall be erected upon, okay, got it.
So
All right, yeah, since
Oh,
the way
but then you're repeating yourself under D, so
Right, that's my
shouldn't
point.
you? Yeah, why don't we just leave the height under D? And then like, I think it was Liz that was just saying a freestanding sign shall be, you take out the height and the clearance
Right.
part under
Yep.
that bullet point.
yes, yep,
I see why you're doing
Yep.
that now.
okay,
And then you put the height under D.
yep, okay.
Even though the one's a primary and one's a secondary?
No, because secondary is C and height is D. So they're separate.
Oh, I'm
bullet
sorry,
points,
yep,
yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because it really,
Sense,
it
yeah.
only comes up with a
Right.
freestanding sign.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you, John, for sticking with us and with this.
Oh my gosh, this is, he's gotta be into this for at least 10 to 12 hours at this point,
I know.
for sure.
But he's the most experienced of
I know.
anyone with all of this, so it's important to have him.
I agree, get rid of the word fabric. Doesn't really add anything,
It's fine.
Yep.
recommendation.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be fabric.
Right. And then just triple confirm where sign review is not reviewing sandwich board signs, correct?
Correct.
Good. And then I'm comfortable, I think we already talked about this, about moving all of this additional language to the guidelines, the sign review guidelines.
But she kept some because we said some should belong here. Is that right or not? So
That's
some of
discussed.
these
Some of
could
these
be
could be
moved.
moved. I know she's got a section.
It's at the very end. what-
Yeah, right, on page, starting on page 17, yes. Right, so not for inclusion in the zoning amendment, put these in the design guidelines. So, sign shall only be displayed in
Yeah, I
private place of
remember.
business. Yeah, so there are, yeah, I'd have to go back and look and see, maybe just this one that's highlighted is, oh, yeah, well, that was what we talked about with the ADA stuff. She probably wants to keep the ADA stuff in.
Yeah, that should be in.
That's not repeated. That's not repeated on page 17. The first
Look at
bullet
18.
is repeated on page 17, the second bullet is repeated on page 17.
I see, yeah.
Third bullet is not about the width and the height, that is not. So yeah, so we can do a better job and make that more clear, but are people comfortable with her suggestion that certain of these items can be in the guidelines? Is there anything that you feel absolutely should be in the zoning bylaw? To make sure that it doesn't get moved to the guidelines?
I'm okay with her suggestions.
So then these would be reviewed by the building commissioner, correct? They're
Yes.
the design guidelines.
Yeah, so in this scenario, the building commissioner would be using that handbook probably more than maybe in the past, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I'd just say the third bullet and then the one where it references the police department, the last bullet might want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Opinion, rest of it can go to the design guidelines.
But
Okay,
Jim, you're saying the sign shall advertise the business goods and services, that one?
No, the 24 by 48, just the size, the overall size of the thing, just so people are thinking huge.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then, just when I see police department, I think it should stay, but,
yep,
And the ADA one, so
ADA,
three bullet points, is that
Yep.
what we're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
those will stay in the,
Size.
those will stay in the bylaw.
ADA.
yes, exactly, the ADA one.
Okay, good. I think there's only one tough one left, Meredith. The fuel service stations.
And just under where it says the sign must be constructed with a cross brace for stability, some of the sandwich signs don't have a cross brace, but they have an area that you can fill with sand. So, so it doesn't have a cross brace. So, I don't know if that matters.
I think we could say, on that one, I think we could say must be constructed with a cross brace for stability, or the sign must have sufficient strength to stand by itself without the use of other materials to stabilize it.
Just put an or in there, and then that gets reviewed by the building commissioner.
Mhm. Oh, so this was to do with like the conversation around how there's a service bay, there's a Keno, there's gas, there's Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know. I think that was the gist of Carolyn's question was like how much of this signage counts.
Yeah, I thought the last time when we discussed this, we were just focusing on the big freestanding sign and regulating that. And then the other signs would be reviewed by the sign committee because, you know, buildings are different sizes. Some signs look better a little larger, some signs look better a little smaller. So I'm not sure how you can regulate, just pick a square foot number and have it be applicable everywhere.
For fuel stations
Well,
only.
Because all the gas pumps need signage on them. You know, there might be a sign over the service bay.
So is the number of principal signs still only one for a service station? Because I remember, I think other service stations, like you'll see Sunoco in 3 places, at least big Sunoco things, or whatever it is, I don't know the brand. But
Mhm.
it's one thing to identify service bay and pump and whatever.
Right.
It's another thing to have the name of the company on the building, on the freestanding, on the, that hood thing, whatever it's called, they want
I
them
don't
all
think those
around
would be
the-
considered a principal sign though. I think those would be,
Okay, well, I don't know what that's considered, but it seems to me there should be a limit to number of those. And that, you know, identifying the other functions should be allowed.
I mean, these sizes seem appropriate on the principal signs. But maybe I think what John's saying is it's hard to put a number on.
3 square feet seems kind of small for a sign that says, let's just say it's a service bay. You know, 1 foot by 3 feet.
I thought that
is
would be the
pretty
9
small.
square feet.
Okay.
Product identification signs for gas.
No single sign to exceed 3 square feet in area.
Yeah, maybe that is small if it's a total.
Yeah, that's really small. You never get a service bay sign that size.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that was more sort of like, you know, state inspection stickers here,
Right.
like that kind of thing.
I think those are regulated by the state, the size of those.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's a standard sign that you get from the state and you just put it up on the wall.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the sign examples that Liz sent around, the letters above the Santander building, above the door, are 2 feet by I think it was 16 feet, which sounded awfully big to me. But then when I saw it in the picture, it did not seem that big. 2 by 16 is what, 32?
Correct.
That's big.
Right. But it looked right on the building.
It did. So I'm thinking above a service bay, you know, with a sign that says, you know, service bay, it would,
Right. That's why I think you've got to kind of look at it per building
yeah.
and not regulate it by size, but regulate it by the building itself.
So 24 square feet sign area seems small when we looked at these residential, like Winter Valley being 20.
Remember, that was, I think we looked at a sign. I marked it up to 20,
Oh, okay.
25.
So you think that's,
Now, that's the freestanding sign?
No, that's just that's just the top of the freestanding sign.
Top of the freestanding sign, right, okay,
Yeah.
got it. Got it. So not
Sort of-
not including the gas pump prices.
Correct.
So do we take out the 9 square feet and the 3 square feet and do something to the, put wordage in that says, up to the discretion of the sign review committee?
John, do they come to you for non-principal signs? Do they come to you for all of
Oh,
those
they come
small
with the whole
things?
package. Oh, yeah. Everything.
they
They
do.
come to us.
Right.
Anything that goes on the building, they come to us.
Oh, good,
Stuff
okay.
that goes on the pumps. Yeah, everything.
So you do have the discretion to, yeah.
Right, because like per Cheryl's question before, on the, I think it was the Shell station, we didn't have them put the name over the pumps, but we let them put a non-illuminated logo over the pump.
Yeah.
Oh, like on the canopy over the pump. We didn't let them write Shell again. We just let them put the little Shell logo up on there. That was non-illuminated. So yeah, they come to us with a full package on those things.
so it sounds like this first one is really this freestanding sign. It's highlighted.
Yeah,
in
it's that
yellow.
freestanding sign that we looked at the last time.
Yeah, so
That
should
has
this say
the,
freestanding?
it probably should.
But are we requiring it to be freestanding? What if they want it
I think that's why I'm
principal
asking, like,
sign?
this
It
is,
just refers to it as principal sign?
well,
Or in this case.
I think you have, in this case, we're talking about 12-foot height limits. I think you're talking about that
Freestanding.
freestanding one. But then it goes on to talk about the total number of signage for the services. But that, there's still, you would be, that freestanding sign, then you would still probably be allowed a principal sign, because the freestanding sign is putting pricing and other stuff on it, right? And then
No, but that has the principal sign on it. That has the name of the
Okay.
gas station.
okay,
I can see if I can find that one we looked at the last time.
yeah,
So should we say product identification signs for gasoline service stations may be maintained?
is it really maintained? Because
Yeah, it's not really, that's not,
maybe
maybe
allowed.
allowed.
I like giving the discretion to the sign
Given the
review
discretion,
committee.
yeah, allowed.
Yeah, cause how come that only fuel service stations are allowed to have product identification signs and like 7-Eleven can't?
I mean, my sense is it would be connected to sort of the nature of the business,
But you're discriminating.
right? In terms of
Discriminating against
safety.
business.
I mean, I'm sure it's maxed out as well, as much as they can get away with, but it's probably got to do with the nature of the business. It's kind of, gas stations are kind of like a utility in a sense. I mean, they're a necessary, sort of, right? I think you can make that
And I
argument.
didn't know if it was safety, I don't know.
So here on the box on the side, it says, I noticed that we did not set any height limits for signs in the residential or business district, so I've inserted proposed height for the board's consideration. If the board agrees with my suggested changes under business districts above, we do not need to limit gas station signs to 12 feet in height. And if a gas station is limited to 50 square feet in total sign area, this special provision may not be necessary. So does this mean that this whole paragraph, it may not be necessary?
I don't know, I'm not really sure, where do we limit 50 square feet in total sign area? Does that circle back on like
Consider
the
billboard.
billboard, is that the billboard thing?
Yeah.
But that's for a single sign. Right? Yeah. That's for a single sign. I'm imagining there could be scenarios where somebody could have more than 50 square feet, right?
So there's also this question
Maybe not,
about
maybe we
whether
are limiting it at
if
50
we're
square
treating
feet
gas
total.
stations differently than other businesses in that same box.
I actually don't have a problem with that, treating them differently, because there's just so much going on at a gas station.
Yeah, I agree, Jim.
The fuel, you have the service base, sometimes you have a convenience store, you have the little place where you go get air for your tires. Sometimes they have towing, I mean, there's a lot, I mean, hopefully ours won't, but there's a lot going on. So they should be treated differently, I think we can justify that.
Yeah, so I would interpret this that if you are gonna treat it differently, you're gonna have to, you can't be more restrictive than what other businesses can do. You know what I mean?
With all the,
Yeah, so if a regular business can do, you know, whatever based on a multiplier for max dimensions, if they, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the nut of her concern, is that she's concerned that we're treating them differently. And that you can treat them differently, it's just gotta be more generous.
I think we're doing that with a 12-foot sign. The
12
height,
foot
anyway.
height.
and that we are, and that if we put something in product identification signs, will be at the discretion of the sign review committee. Is that what we're not
That
wanting?
tells- We're offering more with the product identification signs. We just need it on a case-by-case basis for gas stations. Like, I don't think would be discriminating against the gas stations. I think this sort of shows that we're favoring them, in my
Yes,
opinion.
Yes, that's, you're correct. We are favoring gas stations.
And I don't know, 9 square feet doesn't seem adequate for those additional signs.
Well, that's gonna be at the discretion of the sign
That's
review
what I think
committee,
we put
right?
that discretion
so you're
in.
gonna
But
take
if you
over
have
that?
That up.
the sign that says, you know, the air, you know, this, the air gun is over here, you don't need a 9-foot sign for that.
No, but 3 feet.
I was just thinking cumulative, they all add up to a lot more,
Oh,
Right.
yeah, okay.
what we're giving
Minus
other
the
businesses.
total.
Oh, yeah, okay, total, okay, yep.
Right. And yeah, and you are limiting them to the one sign. The one principal sign. Other businesses can have 2.
Only if they have 2 principal facades, right?
No.
Changed that, I thought.
No, it was, you
Elevation.
can't put the same type of sign. So like the nail salon on Granite Ave has 2 signs. They have a wall sign and a freestanding sign.
And those are both considered principal signs.
I see.
Well, then I think they should be allowed 2 principal signs.
Yeah, I don't know how you can limit them to one.
Yeah. And one might be the freestanding and one might be on the building or on the canopy.
Yeah, they probably would have one on the
You
kid.
can do that.
But we wouldn't want
And
them
then the
both
others-
to be 12 feet tall.
No, but that would just be the freestanding one. So
One freestanding, so we want one freestanding.
But one freestanding, you don't want to allow 2, you don't want to
Allow 2
allow,
principal, but only 1 freestanding. I think that's,
all right, so, okay, so fuel service stations in the business districts are allowed 1 freestanding sign identifying the business not to exceed 24 square feet in sign area and up to 12 feet in height. That's the freestanding sign. There probably should be a line about the second primary, second principal sign is regulated by whatever is required in the business district. I know that's really not very glib, but I think that's what you need, something like that.
Okay.
Because you want them to be able to choose 2 signs. You don't wanna limit them to just 1 sign, I don't think.
And then you should
Yeah,
still,
because they'll have something on the building too.
Right.
On the front of the building,
you
over
still
the
need to
door.
allow, I think, for the services that they provide. I don't think that's your products necessarily, like that way you don't get all the other stuff, but you could, the services.
Yeah, it's for services.
So, and then those could be total area as determined by the sign review committee.
So do you wanna say, instead of product identification signs, do you wanna say service identification signs?
I
Yes.
think that would make
Yeah.
more sense, yes.
That's it.
For tonight.
Yeah. And I think just that last thing is the wayfaring sign. I agree. Carolyn had said on that. That, I don't know if you saw that, just that last comment on directional. I don't know of any town or state regulation that would require these signs. Would it be easier to all these wayfaring signs by right without counting towards the total sign area?
I'm sorry, Meredith, where are you? Did you say weight
Under
bearing
D,
sign?
under D, her
Wayfaring.
comments. Without counting
Oh,
towards
gotcha.
the
Okay,
total
I'm
sign
sorry.
area, provided no individual sign exceeds 1.5 or 2 square feet.
So sometimes it's these little signs that get overly placed and then it becomes just
The
kind of
sign
messy
garden.
looking. Yeah, even like citizens, like in whatever the signs were provided, there was just too many citizens. I mean, can't you tell where the drive up is?
Well, and
You
they're using them as additional signage,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
if they put their logo on everything,
yeah.
or their
mean,
name.
These signs driven by lawsuits and people making mistakes and coming in the outdoor or driving out the entrance way. I think
Because sometimes vehicular circulation, you want to go in a one-way direction, so if you don't mark what's in and what's out, you have people coming in and crashing into each other.
right, and then they sue the business
Should be
because no one
driving.
told them
Yeah.
to drive
Yeah.
out the entrance.
Right.
Stay to the right.
Sure, right. England.
Yeah, so I kind of like her comment. I think it's pertinent. Easier to allow all these wayfaring signs by right without counting towards the total sign area provided when individual sign exceeds 1.5. So it's just like, how big are we going to allow these signs?
Right.
That makes sense.
So, I mean,
Okay, so
I
we
think
should,
2 square feet is probably good, where she has.
2 square feet.
Because I feel
Okay.
like they're standard, you can just go online and order them.
Yeah,
right.
so we want Carolyn to make that change and do what she's suggesting here, so. Okay. Right. Then I think that was everything. All
Is
right.
the goal is for this to be in the annual town meeting warrant, right?
Yeah.
So it's due to the select board, we have
They
one that-
know, and they have it on their, they have it included on their items to be in the warrant. I was just talking about what is our timeline with getting, the warrant committee is gonna wanna review it. We wanna send it to the select board, obviously,
So can we get a revised draft, like at least the weekend before our next meeting, like Friday. Just so that we can try and,
Just go through it.
go through it. I think there's enough changes that we need to spend time on it.
Yeah.
But I would like to be able to read it in advance, because I think
Yeah.
it's easier that way.
When is our next meeting? Is the 26th?
26th, yep.
She's been able to turn around things pretty quickly. She had a big 40B case, which it took her a little longer to get the revisions to us earlier this week.
Because if she could get it to us by the 26th, and then it gives select board and warrant committee. So doesn't it go to print like
Well,
in
if she could
April?
get,
Cause you remember, like, the warrant committee may have some things that they wanna suggest changes to. And we would need time for that before going to print, to your point. So I think if we can sort of say that at the next meeting that hopefully we don't have significant changes, then we could at least submit a draft.
Is there any scenario where if it gets circulated and folks are able to get back individually? Is there any scenario where that can get kind of wrapped up faster?
That's if we get it in advance, I think, yes.
Okay.
And if John can get it in advance and get us any comments he has before our meeting also.
Yeah.
Just,
So she could get it to us on Friday the 20th,
yeah, by the end of next week.
yeah,
mhm,
a week from tomorrow. And
if
then
that's
we would have the
possible.
weekend, and then we send any comments to Liz, all of us,
Yeah, like by Monday.
yeah.
And that way, if there's some edits that need to be done for Thursday.
But you definitely wanna talk about it again on the 26th. Right now, you're thinking you don't wanna finalize it before the 26th. Is that the sense?
I think as many changes as we discussed, I'd like to see it again.
On the 26th, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get the.
We'll need to vote it, otherwise we're
revisions.
voting on
Yeah.
real
Just so we
marked
can
up.
vote, yeah, so we'll be able to take the vote at least on that, and if
Do you
anyone
need
has
to
any
vote?
outstanding
Do you need to vote to send it? Cause it's already been, cause we still need to do a public hearing.
we'll still
We
do the
usually
public
vote to submit it, and then we do the public hearing.
Okay, all right, okay, that's fine. I just wasn't sure. I'm still trying to get my head back into town
Whether we
meeting.
have to do it or not, I guess is the question. We
Yeah.
usually
hearing.
do.
We usually do vote to, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna say goodnight.
Oh, thank you,
Good night,
John.
John.
I,
Good night.
I wanna head home.
Appreciate your input.
Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thanks, bye-bye.
We have two applications that we left. Two signed applications that come in this way.
So, yeah, I think that makes sense. We can, have any comments we can send over, any questions, if something arises that we have questions, Liz can get the answer from Carolyn. Do we feel like we need Carolyn to come? Did you want her to address some of
As long
those?
as if she can send in an email, or, I mean, if everyone else doesn't need it, then maybe she can just call me. But if everyone else would like the same,
I think we should be able to explain, yeah, which,
I think everybody might wanna just have it in their email at least, so if someone asks about it,
that would be great.
it's clear.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. And I, like I said, Cheryl, I had the same question around the basis for the variance, the basis for the special permits, like,
I think if I'm thinking
needs to
of,
be more
like, if
clear.
I were you, Meredith, doing this at town meeting, you wanna make it clear that there's a process that allows signs as of right, signs by special permit, and there are signs that are prohibited. And and what the process is, for a typical application, just because for somebody to read through this and figure out, like, what's your, one page.
so much better. It's so much better. I would have no trouble like defending this because it's so much more clear. And it accomplishes a lot. It gets rid of all those silences, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a big improvement. I mean, I know it's like 15, 16 pages, but it's a big improvement.
And the other thing that was helpful, I know with this, the site plan review and when we were, and the ADU, when we were presenting those, is we did do a PowerPoint presentation, which just takes the bullet points and maybe that's something either Avante or, we can work on together, but putting together, and not long, but just a few slides, 6 or 7 slides, just to say, this is what we're doing, these are the gist of it. The purpose for doing this, just sort of the breakout of some of those items.
Sounds good.
But I think it's would be much more helpful to.
Just so I'm clear, we'll give this back to her. She'll make the changes and she'll add new highlights where she made changes. So we can see.
I think she's cleaning up where the highlights she's already made, but maybe she'll.
Yeah, honestly, Jim, I probably was gonna talk to her a little bit about that because I needed to break out very specifically like the latest round of changes. So this is gonna be yet another round, so maybe we'll use a different highlight color or something, but I think we probably need to differentiate a little bit. Or drop some of this highlight where we've already talked about
Yeah,
it,
that's
we've
what I was
already
gonna
come
say.
to.
That's what I was
Start
thinking.
fresh.
Yep, drop some of
Because
this.
it's a good process. I mean, I like the highlight and then her comments on the side. Yeah,
I love the comments. They're super helpful. The whole thing is great, but if we could just clean it up, so going forward from today on,
Yeah,
we're looking at new changes and that's it.
agreed.
That'd be great. Helpful for me.
Yep, same.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second,
All right, roll call. Jim?
No, I want to keep going. Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Maggie?
yes.
And myself, yes. Good evening.
Well done, guys. Good night.
Good night, Jim.
Night.
Night.